How many years negotiation experience do you have? Yes.
I wouldn't say that it was a great experience, but
How many? 1 year, 2 years, 5 years?
many, I think several years, 2 years.
2 years? How many years negotiation experience would you say you have?
I think till I learn how to speak, so it's nearly 16 years.
16 years? Okay, that's right. We're negotiating all the time. We're not just negotiating two people in a room doing business. You're negotiating with your friends. You're negotiating with your colleagues. You're negotiating with your family. So we're not just negotiating business, two people in a room. Negotiating all the time. So, who's here? Any native English speakers here? No? Just me? Okay. Okay. Who's from Kiev? Okay. Okay. Who owns or is part of a business, commercial enterprise, like a bank or a business? Only 5, 6 people. Okay. Okay. So I maybe need to make some changes a little bit. Did you understand my question? Yeah. You understand my question? Who works in a company? Sorry, not works in a company. Works in the government. Works for the government. And the rest of you are students, or what else are you? What's the other options? Unemployed. Okay. Unemployed students. Hands up for students. I can see some of you. Yeah. I can see some of you.
Personnel department.
Sorry?
Personnel department.
Personnel department? Okay, right. And what else was I going to say? Oh, right. Do you have business cards? Do you have business cards? Who's got a business card? Not many people. Okay. Yeah, maybe? You have to look in your bag. Business cards? Okay. Well, I was going to ask you, right, anybody who's got a business card, take your business card out. In fact, if you haven't got a business card, get a little piece of paper. Get a little piece of paper. Okay, I want you to write your name and your telephone number and your email address. Write your name, your telephone number, and your email address. So find a little piece of paper. A business card is fine. Okay. Write your name, your telephone number, your email address. Please come in, have a seat. There's seats at the side there. The seat's right at the front. I won't be bad. I won't be nasty, honest, promise. Okay. And write yes, no, and maybe. Write yes, no, and maybe on your piece of card. Yes, no, maybe. So your name, your address, telephone number, and yes, no, maybe. And then cross out the maybe. Cross out the maybe. So at the end of this session, we've got 3 hours. You can either circle yes and give it to Svetlana at the back. Say hello, Svetlana. Yeah. Give it to her. Say yes. And all that is we'll have a conversation. That's it. Nothing more. No commitment beyond just having a conversation. No, we won't contact you again. Okay? Fair? Is that fair? Sound good? Okay. So, how do you say my name? Anybody any idea? How do you say my name? Neil. What else? Other? Niall. Neil. Yes. So it's confusing because in English, Nile is a river. But you say Neil for that river, right? Yeah. Yes. So for you guys, think of me as like the river, right? That's Neil. In English, these are the knees. So Neil, right? It's my name, not a command. So, my name's Neil. I'm Scottish. Do you know where Scotland is? Any ideas? Where is it? It's in Great Britain. Well done. Yes. North of England. Yes, not in the north of it. That's different. A different country. Yeah. So my family name is Urquhart. Do you know Nessie? Have you heard of Nessie before? Yes. Nessie is the monster in Loch Ness, and the castle beside Loch Ness is Urquhart Castle. That's my family name, Urquhart. But make it easier for you, Urquhart. That's easier. Okay. Family is mine, yeah. It's my castle, it's mine. Okay, so you don't want to know too much about me. I've been doing this a long time. I've worked in lots of places like, Facebook and BMW and HSBC and Nike and Vodafone. So 18 years of negotiations. I think what is relevant is... I wanted to put that one down. What is relevant is I'm self-employed, so I do a lot of negotiation. So this is not theory, this is practice. So I negotiate with one-to-one, I negotiate with a company, small companies and larger companies. So this is not theory, this is practice. This is from experience. So that's one thing to remember. Okay, now I need to get myself back. So I'm going to introduce what we're going to be doing, just give you a little bit of introduction of the background of negotiation, what is negotiation, what isn't. We're going to talk a little bit about style. What's your negotiation style? What do you typically do when you negotiate? Are you really hard and tough? Or are you really nice? Oh, I'm really soft and accommodating and nice. So those are two most common styles. Which one are you? Maybe you're under other styles. And why is it important to know your style? We'll talk about that. Then what do you have to do in order to prepare for your negotiations? Because most people don't prepare. They're very poor negotiators. They go, oh, it's the same person I'm negotiating with. It's my colleague or this business person I negotiate with. So I don't need to prepare, right? So I don't need to prepare. And then even if, okay, hands up, be honest. Do you prepare for a negotiation? Hands up. Sometimes, right? That's the best you're going to get is sometimes, right? So sometimes you're going to prepare for a negotiation. Most of the time, meh. And okay, how many of you review your negotiation after you finished? Sometimes. Okay, 3. And what do you review for? So we'll talk about that later. You don't need to answer. We'll talk about that later. But there's the right type of review as well. So it's not just about negotiating. It's also about your preparation. It's also what you do afterwards. And it's also, even after that, in between negotiations, what you do is how to build negotiation mastery. So I'm skipping there a little bit, but I'm going to talk about the 6C system. It's a system which takes you step by step through negotiation. Because most of you don't have a system, right? Is that fair? Yeah. Is that fair? Most of you don't have a system. You have no idea what you're doing. You just sort of go, well, we talk a little bit like this and do this. That's a bit hard, was it? But you don't know. Some of you are experienced, but you don't really have a system. You just do what maybe somebody else taught you, or you do what you think is natural, and you don't really have a system so much. So maybe some of you do. But I'm going to teach you what I consider a better system based on my experience. And last but not least, we're going to look at mastery. So how do you become a master of negotiations? Because you should consider it a skill. No one is born like a master negotiator. No one is born like a master presenter. That's the good news for you. That's the good news for you is you can all learn these skills. It's not some esoteric or really difficult thing. Well, it is difficult in some senses, but it takes the right type of practice to get right, to get better. But the good news for you guys is that you can get better. Am I speaking too fast? Is it okay? Speed is okay? Yeah, you can understand me? Okay. So let's watch. Have you seen the movie called, so I'm Sasha, there's a movie called The Fifth Element. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, I'm going to show you a little bit from The Fifth Element. Good. Technical. Bruce Willis. You know Bruce Willis? Yeah. American hero. Bruce Willis is it's on a spaceship. There's 10 minutes to go, or the spaceship's going to blow up. There's a problem, though, because one of Bruce Willis's friends is being held hostage. Right? Is being held by an alien race. They're called the Mangalores. That's probably the only word you won't understand. Mangalore, that's the name of the alien race. And we're just going to watch Bruce Willis and his negotiation skills. How would you describe Bruce's style there? Assertive, yes. That's very assertive. Yeah. He's not taking any prisoners, right? So very assertive. So Thomas Kilmann, there's something called the Thomas Kilmann conflict indicator. And that's something used for conflict. And they came up with some, different styles. They came up with some different styles. Which we can also use in negotiations. So we've got two axes here. We've got the assertive scale. So Bruce is quite high up there, right? And we've got the cooperative scale. He's not very cooperative. He's not really being very cooperative. And we've got these different styles here. So if you're being maximally cooperative, maximally assertive and minimally cooperative, then you have a competing style. So I win, you lose. I don't care how much you lose. I'm going to take as much as I can. Right? Very common negotiation strategy, especially amongst men. Right? We are socialized. Men are socialized to be, assertive. They're taught to be, you be strong. Be strong, be assertive, be competitive. That's good, apparently. What's the bad thing about being competing? What's the bad thing about being competing? Yes. So you don't build relationships, basically. You don't build relationships if you're very competitive. And sometimes, you need other people. It's not just me on my own all the time. Sometimes you need other people. So competitive style used, there's nothing wrong with any of the styles, by the way. There's nothing wrong with any of the styles. It's just, as I say, any strength overused becomes a weakness. So you use competitive behavior unconsciously all the time, then you're going to make enemies at the wrong time. So competing behavior, and yes, as the gentleman at the back said, you're going to create enemies. And in fact, there's another style which I haven't even written there, which is called revenging. Revenging is when I don't care how much you lose, as long as I lose, sorry, as long as you lose more. So that's a suicide bomber, right? That's a suicide bomber. I don't care how much you lose, I lose as long as you lose more. So that's the attitude. And that often happens when you have been maybe nasty or too competitive with something, so with somebody. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Say yes, Neil, or no, Neil, I don't understand. Yes, Neil? Yeah? Good, good. Okay, good. Good. Right. So accommodating, being cooperative. Right? So accommodating, being cooperative. That is, I lose so that you can win. I lose so that you can win. You give up what is important to you so other people can win something. So that's, and again, women tend to be socialized to do this style. Not all women, of course, but they tend to be socialized. Be nice, be kind, yeah, say yes. So women tend to be socialized. I've got a daughter, so I'm really like training her not to be accommodating. Her mother isn't very happy. But not to be accommodating, because what's the bad thing about accommodating?
Victim mentality.
Sorry?
Victim mentality.
Weak mentality.
Victim.
Victim mentality. Sure, yeah. Okay, sure, could be. What?
Overuse whatever you do.
Yeah, okay, it could be overused. What's the good thing? Sorry.
Like you don't achieve your own goals.
You might not achieve your own goals, right? So you might not achieve your own goals. You're always giving up for other people. Why would it be good to use accommodating style? What's the upside? What are the positives of accommodating style?
The other people have what they want.
The other people have what you want, and therefore what? And so they like you. They like you, right? Oh, yes, I want to.
Yeah, very comfortable.
They're very comfortable with you because you just keep giving them. Yeah, sure, you have it. I don't need it. Yeah. So then we have compromising. Compromising means what? Yes. Part way. So somebody once said that compromising, you can tell it's a compromise because both people are somewhat unhappy. Right? Both people are somewhat unhappy. You know it's a compromise. So isn't that the best you can hope for? Is it possible to get everything that you want? Really?
Why not?
Why not? Right. Well, I'll talk about that a little bit later. But compromising, the best in that scenario is you get some and I get some. We don't get everything. We get some. We get some each. We get a little bit each. So avoiding is where I'm not assertive and I'm not cooperative. Why would I avoid? What would be a good reason for me to avoid negotiation?
You're quite sure that you will lose.
Okay, great. So you'll be quite sure that you're going to lose. It's a bad time for you to negotiate. It's a bad time for you to negotiate. So don't negotiate then. Avoid. Don't do it. Yeah, it's the wrong time, the wrong place. Do it later. The wrong person. Yeah, wrong time, wrong place, wrong person. If you can avoid it until later, then you have power. That's a form of power. Does that make sense? If you have to negotiate, that is problematic. Because if you're weak, then you're going to lose. So if you have to negotiate, if you're desperate, oh, please, I need it. Right? So it's a little bit like a beggar at a station or somebody homeless wanting money from you. Please. So it's usually like maybe you want to give them, but it's still a little bit, okay, here. And then I run away. That's a little bit the idea. But what do you do? Are you doing that when you negotiate? Are you the beggar? Is it like somebody's got more power? So we often think power is only comes from one place, right? Where does power come from? Well, maybe you could say rifles, well, arms. But in the world of work, where does power come from?
Money.
Could be control of money, but in your organization, where does power come from? Yeah, top position, right. So hierarchical position. Where is the hierarchy? So we often think that's the only game in town. It's just hierarchy. Hierarchy has power and I have no power. And that's false. That's wrong. Not true. What are other types of power?
Confidence.
Confidence? Sure, I like it.
Fear.
Yeah, fear. Yeah, okay, leadership, confidence. How about knowledge? Yes. How many of you know more than your bosses? How many of you know more than your bosses? Hands up. Nobody. In some sphere, right, in some sphere. In your job, who knows, do you know more than your boss about your job?
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So you've got some expert power. You probably have some education that they don't have. Those of you who are younger, you probably have got some new education, right? New ideas that those old people, they don't know anything. They're outdated, right? Okay. So let me move on. Collaborating is win-win, right? I get what I want, and you get what you want. Seems impossible, right? How could that be? How could that be? So imagine I have this water. What's your name?
Alona.
Alona.
Yes.
So Ilona wants to drink it, and I want to drink it, or we both want it. Seems like what are the options? Either I steal it, she steals it, right? Win lose, or I give her a little, and I have a little. Right? That's a compromise, right? It's a compromise. Is there another option? Is there an option? I could, yeah. Actually, yeah. Imagine we're in a desert. Okay, yeah, okay, we could do. So another option is, Ilona, why do you want this? Why do you want this? Yeah, right. Huh? What are you going to say?
Because she can't live in a desert without the water. Right?
Yeah, so she's well, okay, I've put myself in a corner now. Okay, imagine we're not in a desert and there's no machine out there. So she probably wants it because she's thirsty, right? She's thirsty, right? Okay, well, I want the cup. I want the cup for my daughter to play with and make some circles. So if you drink it, and can I have the cup?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a simple example of win-win, but I'll only find out if what? Sorry? Yeah, if I know what the person wants. If I know what the person wants, and I ask them, whoops, I'll come back to you. If I ask them, why? Why do you want it? Why is a very powerful question. So it's the interest. I'm trying to investigate the interest of the person, not the position. The position is what I say I want. So this is supposed to be an iceberg, just in case you're wondering about my amazing drawing skills. It's clear? Okay, well, so no to everybody. Thank you. That's very kind. So you don't see this. You just see, I want the water, you want the water, let's have a fight. Or I give in, we cooperate, and I have a little, you have a little. But then neither of us are really happy because I don't want the water. I don't really want the water. So what's your style? So hands up, those of you, just be honest. It's not I'm not gonna write it down. Oh yeah. So hands up, those of you who primarily use a competing style. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Hands up, those of you who primarily use an accommodating style. Yeah. What about compromising? Compromising? Most of the room are compromised. Isn't that interesting? Avoiding? Why would you use avoiding? Yeah, that's a good style. I use avoiding all the time. Because I want to. Because I want to. Yeah, because it's the wrong time. Sorry?
Sometimes it doesn't.
Maybe. But you can see if you can. Try it out. Right, where's my little thing? So that's so knowing your style, but you know what? You need to be adaptable. If you want to be a good negotiator, you need to be adaptable, and you need to be able to use all of the styles. Not just one style, because you might have a preference. Oh, I'm like this, and I like compromising. Yeah, because it seems like everybody's happy, but they're not really. They're unhappy a little bit. You're unhappy a little bit. They're unhappy a little bit. You need to be comfortable with all the styles, because if you're not, then you get stuck. Because you get stuck on your strength all the time, and your strength is not always useful. It's not always appropriate. It's not always the right time to use that strength. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you guys need to get good at adapting your skills to, or adapting your attitude and adapting your style based on what you want, what you'd like to achieve, and what's your relationship going to be like with them afterwards. Is it just a one-off negotiation? You know, are you never going to see them again? Like you're buying a carpet in Turkey or in Morocco, the bazaar, right? Or the marketplace. If you go to the market and you try to buy some fruit and vegetables, well, I don't know, maybe you go back at the same time. But is it like that competitive? Then maybe competitive, if it's rarely like that, right? So maybe you still want to give them something. So the lose to win, it's not a static chart. It's not static, you're stuck always doing this. You can do other styles as well. Sometimes you need to adapt. Okay, let me go back a little bit. Okay, negotiation process. So we don't, there's a basis for negotiation. There's a basis for negotiation. My definition for negotiation is that you need two actors, that is, in the sociological sense, two people or two stakeholders, two persons or two companies, for example. You need, because you can't really negotiate with yourself. You need at least two. You could have 3 or 5 or 10 or 100, but you need at least two. You need the will to negotiate. You have to want to negotiate, otherwise I'm just avoiding, and there's no negotiation, right? So, what's your name? Alexandra? Sasha? Which one do you want? Sasha. So Sasha, if you want to buy my car, but I don't want to sell it, then I have no will to negotiate, right? Fair? So I'm just going to walk away. So you need to have the will to negotiate. You also need to have common interest. What is the common interest if she's buying the car from me?
Your car. I want to have your car and you want to have the money, for example.
Yeah, that's not exactly the common interest. The common interest is the exchange of the car. The common interest is the exchange of the car. I give it from my ownership to Sasha's ownership. Yeah? So that's the common interest. But you also need, but if it's only common interest, then it's just a problem-solving exercise. It's not really negotiation. It's just problems. When are we going to do it? Oh, we're going to do it this time. It's not really a divergent. It's not really a negotiation if it's only common interest. You need divergent interests as well. That means different interests. So what's a common different interest if I'm buying her car or she's buying my car? The price, right? The price is a common divergent interest, right? So she probably wants it cheaper, and I probably want it more expensive. Fair? Yeah? Of course. Yeah, you'd think that. Maybe though, I want to get rid of it. I don't want it. Maybe I'm leaving the country, and I want to get rid of it. So we make assumptions, right? You make an assumption. Oh yeah, it's all about the money. It's all about the money, honey. But it's not necessarily about the money. It could be, I want to get rid of it, right? Coming back to why. Why do you want it? So another diverging interest could be, what, in this car scenario, I'm selling the car. What is another diverging interest could be? Time, right? So you want it today, I need to give it, I want it for another week or a month. So that could be another diverging interest. So you've got to have all of these as a basis for there to be a real negotiation. You've got to have diverging interests, that's different interests. You've got to have common interests. You've got to have two people involved, and you need to have a desire to negotiate, a will to negotiate. If you don't have those, it's not really a negotiation. If you only have diverging interests, there's no negotiation. I walk away because there's no common interest. There's no exchange of the car. I walk away. If there's only common interest, it's a problem-solving exercise. Or it's a conflict if it's diverging interests. Okay, so this is a common process. I'm not suggesting that you have to use this. This is a common process, but you don't have to use it. So analyze, right? You analyze why am I, do I want to negotiate? How much should I sell this car for? You analyze your negotiation. Well, hopefully. Even if it's very short time, you analyze negotiation. Then you propose exchanges. So I say, How much are you going to pay for my car, Sasha? It's a Volkswagen Golf. It's only 2 years old. You know, how much are you going to pay? Imagine you have unlimited money.
I don't know,
Okay, $1 million. Wow, right? Yeah, sure. Okay, here's a tip. If the seller accepts your offer immediately, you are too low. Or too high. In this case, it was, you offered more money than they needed. Yeah, she hasn't. Oh, $1 million. Oh, okay, maybe. Oh, $1 million. Okay. So then I'll say, no, it should be 2 million. And then boom, 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 we meet in the middle, right? Or something like that, maybe. Mm-hmm. Maybe I stick to my price, but we meet in the middle. So that's proposing exchanges. 1 million, 2 million, no. How about 1 million, 2, 5, no. 1.7, oh, 1.5, okay, handshake. Next, if we're lucky, then we reach an agreement, okay? When do you want it? Oh, I want it on Friday, bum, bum, bum. Shake hands, we're going to do it. And then implement the agreement is she sends the money to me, I give her the keys and the documentation. Done deal, right? Pretty standard, pretty normal, right? That's what you think. What's the problem with this? The problem with this is it might not happen like that. It might not happen like that. And it's really a fragile process. What happens when you negotiate with somebody you don't know? How do you feel beforehand? You've never met them before. How do you feel? You could be suspicious. You could be apprehensive. Could be lots of things going through your mind, right? You're a little bit anxious, maybe. Yeah. How much do you trust them? Maybe not much, right? If you don't know somebody, you're not going to trust them very much. Probably. I don't know. There might be some exceptions to this rule. You know, maybe they come from a reputable company, or you know they're a friend of a friend, or some other reasons that you might trust them a little bit more. But often you might not trust them. So this is a volatile. That means it could easily explode and collapse. So you might get to the analysis stage and realize, you know what? I don't want to sell my car. I like my car. You might get to the proposing exchanges stage and you might think, she hasn't got enough money. Or he's asking too much. So it collapses there. You might struggle to reach an agreement. Maybe you agree on the money, but you don't agree on the time. And you might reach an agreement, but you can't implement the agreement. Maybe she loses her money. Sasha went to the casino again, you know. She spent all her money on blackjack, you know. She lives her life on the edge, you know, risking everything. So implementing the agreement might collapse at any time. So this is, and also another thing I want to say, it's like the Wild West. I think this is appropriate for me to talk about the Wild West in America House, right? The Wild West, there are no rules. You don't know how people are going to be. You don't know if they're going to be nice. You don't know if they're going to be nasty. You don't know how they're going to be. There's no rules. And maybe you don't do any of these steps. Maybe you've made all these things, written all these things down. You're going like, oh yeah, I'm doing my preparation. I'm going through all these steps. And they just say, no. They don't do any of that. They try and they stick to their price. Or they do some behavior and just like, whoa, what's happening here? What's going on? I'm confused. So confusion, mistrust, lack of comfort. Ooh. That makes this process unstable. Unstable. It means anything could happen. And so, you know what? You need a system. You need a way of trying to reduce. You can't eliminate distrust. You can't eliminate lack of comfort. But you can make people feel more comfortable, right? What would make you feel more comfortable if you're negotiating with somebody? What would help you? You've never met them before. What would make you feel more comfortable? Sir, what would make you feel more comfortable if you're negotiating with somebody? You've never met them before. I always feel comfortable. Oh, right, okay. Okay. So it doesn't matter who you're negotiating with.
Collecting some information.
Okay, collecting some information.
Knowing his position.
Knowing his position, right? Maybe you've got some inside information. Right?
You may talk about something as how do you do,
Okay, right. Another thing, right, is what I'm going to talk about is building a relationship at the beginning. So it's not, because some of you, especially if your style is competitive, it's like, right, let's start. And if I'm not that style, you're like, then you're already making me go, whoa. You know, and maybe, so this is the competitor mindset. Is like, yeah, I'm going to win, win, win. And then they win, but actually, I'm just scared. And I'll say, yeah, sure, okay, 5,000, no problem. And then I run away, and you can't reach me again because you alienated me. You scared me. And so I said yes because, or maybe, another one's a maybe, right? I said maybe, and it wasn't, and you chasing me, you're calling me. I say you get unlimited access to their voicemail. You get unlimited access to their email. So you've not really won. You might think, oh yeah, competitive is strong and tough. But it's not. It can be weak as well because you alienate your negotiating counterpart. You need two to tango, right? Have you heard that phrase before? You need two to tango. You need two to negotiate as well. It's got to be both people have got to implement the agreement. Both people have got to reach the agreement. And you, through your behavior, you can alienate the other person, means that they don't trust you to implement. So I'm just going to say yes, and then I'm going to run away. I'm not going to do it. You know, in Japan, you can write what you like on a piece of paper. If you don't go out for a drink with them after, forget about it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's, take them to court. Try. It just won't work. You're a foreigner in Japan. Forget about it. So there could be, you just got to watch your behavior as well. How do you behave with other people? Is it appropriate? Is it appropriate? Is it the right thing? So, negotiation process. Yeah, other challenges. People like but don't respect you and take advantage. So accommodators, that happens. You don't achieve results. Again, accommodators. Don't build long-term relationships. Competitive, people who prefer competitive or more assertive. You don't know what you're doing, right? You don't have a system, so you don't know if you're doing it wrong. You don't know if you're doing it wrong. You don't know if you've messed up. You don't know how to get better. You don't know how to get better. You just do right. I asked that question about experience, and you say since I've been born, yeah, or 2 years or whatever. But actually, you're not really developing. Well, you're just repeating. Actually, you're repeating the same year 16 times. You're not really learning. You're just repeating. You're not developing expertise because you're not doing the right thing. You're dropping prices. You're dropping your price. You're discounting. Why is discounting a bad thing? Well, I know there's some obvious answers to that, but why is discounting a bad thing? If you discount to your potential client, what goes on in their mind? It shows you're weak, right? Maybe. It shows you're weak. Distrust, right? So why did you ask me for this much, and then you're suddenly discounting?
Maybe it's
Something is wrong.
Right, maybe your buyer suddenly gets suspicious. Well, maybe it's not very good quality. Maybe there's something wrong with it. Why are you discounting already? So, when you see companies or organizations that have already discounted before you even start, or it's like, hello, would you like 10% off?
Sure.
Yeah. Now, it sounds good, right? It sounds good. Would you like it for free? Oh, yeah, okay. What's your association with free? Is free good? Quality? No, right? If I gave you a service for free, how motivated would I be to see that you're happy?
Maybe it's an advertisement.
It could be, but yeah, maybe. But often, I'm not going to be really motivated to, even if it's an advertisement, right? Am I going to be more motivated if you're paying me money? Probably. Probably. Not always. Not always. We do things for different reasons as well. But doing it for free could be a reason where you get a little bit worried. So we often think, oh yeah, do it for free. But then think about the person who's delivering the service or the product. They're not necessarily going to make it the best quality.
So what's your motivation today?
Here's my motivation. What am I? I'm doing free charge. Yeah. What do you think? No. We're doing it's advertising. It's advertising. It's advertising. It's advertising.
Google give many things for free.
Apparently, right? What did they? Do you know the phrase? If it's free, you're the product. Facebook, Google. If it's free, you're the product. What do Google sell? It's apparently free. You use it all the time. They promote it, right? They promote, right? We've had, I don't know about in Ukraine, but you've had Cambridge Analytica. They sold the behavior of the people on Facebook to political consultants. Yeah. So often free is not really free. It's not really free. It's not really. You don't. There's something maybe not quite right about it. Perhaps, not necessarily. Like I do charity work. I'll do work with NGOs, for example. Don't charge because, you know that phrase where they on the plane the oxygen mask comes down, and you've got a child. Who do you put the oxygen mask on first? Yourself. Yeah. Put yourself on yourself, right? Because there's no use in you being dead and your child being alive, right? You do for yourself first, and then. So if I'm looking after myself first, and then I can look after other people. So that might be other reasons. But these are challenges. You're dropping your prices. It might seem like a good idea. You might get more customers, but actually maybe you're creating doubt in your customer's mind. And of course, it takes you more time to build up, doesn't it? If you're asking for less. Okay, preparation. Who's got something to sell? Who's got something to sell in real life in this audience? Yes, Martin, what's your name?
Allah.
Allah? Can you come up, please? Okay. Right, anyone else? What have you got to sell, Allah?
What I was selling or what I'm selling right now?
Right now.
Right now,
Yeah.
jewelry.
Jewelry.
I have a jewelry site and I'm selling jewelry.
Okay. Anyone in the audience interested in jewelry? We're not going to really do a sale, by the way. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry, we're not really going to do a sale.
That,
Yeah, we're not really going to do a sale. Who is in the audience? It's just for, yes, thank you. Please come up. Yeah. Well done. Please, round of applause. Yeah, encourage her. So Allah and, what's your name, madam? Helen. Hi, Helen. Right, so what I want you to do is I want you to play buyer and seller.
Okay.
And I want you to just pretend, just conduct the negotiation face to face, and I'm going to make some notes. And then we're going to talk about preparation. Yeah. Go ahead.
So,
why don't you use the microphones?
Oh, that's okay. I think it's fine.
No, it's not. Okay.
You're
good.
the boss.
All right, thank you.
So, can we start?
Yes, go.
Okay. So, hi, my name is Ala, and I have jewelry site. It's a steampunk jewelry style. If you don't know what is this, steampunk. Yeah. If you don't know what is this, I can explain to you. It's really popular. It was invented in England, and now it's getting very popular around the globe, and especially among young people and people who want to be trendy and kind of fashion forward. So I can give you my business card, so maybe you can take a look of the site. And since I met you as a person, personally, because most of my customers are online, I don't see them and I don't talk to them. So, but I met you as a person and in person, I mean, and I can give you a good discount. I know that.
Helen,
Okay.
you love steampunk. It's your favorite thing.
Steampunk.
Steampunk is a style.
It's a style
Yeah.
of a jewelry.
So you
right?
love steampunk, Helen. Yeah. Imagine you want to buy.
What is it?
It's like just like Victorian style, but like in the
Mixed
future,
with mechanical-
mixed with mechanical stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So just pretend you love that style of jewelry.
Okay.
Could you please? I also very pleased to see you, and I would accept your proposition
offer. Okay.
But could you advise me? For example, I like jewelry with some special stones. I have one with this semi-precious stone, and maybe you could advise me something with this stone, but in
Matching to the stone, right?
yes, but
okay.
but something in your style that are popular now.
Okay, it's very good. And right now, I don't have exactly this kind of items on my site, but I can make it for you as a special order or special offer, and then you can take a look. And if you like, maybe you can get it.
But could it be proper and could it bring you some outcome if you create something special for one person?
Oh, it calls one of a kind in the Google. I know. So
I'm not
so
very
definitely
good at jewelry.
yeah, it's okay. So definitely it's going to be just one item per style, and it's nobody else going to have it. So it's like unique item. You're talking about that, right?
Yes, about that. But what about if this kind of jewelry didn't attract me? Do not attract me at all.
Then then in this case you don't have to buy it. It's no obligation. You know?
Thank you.
Maybe somebody else is going to like it. You know. So
Thank you for your offer.
okay, so we continue.
No. So imagine she's made something you like. Let's talk about next step.
Talk about.
So you like it. I made it. You
Yes,
like it. Okay.
and you create.
Yeah,
Or
okay.
you have created. For example, can I attend your store and?
It's a website, so you
Website?
can. Yeah.
But for example, if I want to see in real life this jewelry.
Oh, okay. Yes, we can meet. We're both in Kiev right now, so we can meet any coffee shop or whatever. So I can show it to you, no problem.
Move on to the price.
The main. Okay.
And how much will this cost?
Okay, normally each of my pieces they cost around $30, but I can make you a little discount. Because I met you live.
Maybe I would.
What kind of discount would you like?
It depends on the product.
If you like it, so it's like less discount, right?
Yes.
That's interesting, yeah.
Because I understand also, before it was mentioned that if something is completely free, then it seems that...
Did I?
No, not you mentioned. It was...
Oh, okay.
Excuse me, but I late for several minutes, maybe for 10, and I just came when I saw...
It's an offer. She's offering me that I should give her for free.
No, not for free.
Signal,
not for
no?
free.
No,
I understand. I want to attract attention to to the quality of the product. Sometimes when person want to promote some products, they just offer something not so precious, but as you
something
said,
suspicious, right?
as you said previously, it was like unique product, and it shouldn't have the low price.
Other words. So you got some suspicious about this little discount, right? You don't feel comfortable. You don't feel it's right. Something like that, right?
Yes.
Well, I can explain my side. So I'm the owner and I'm the boss of what I'm doing, right? So I can choose like to give discount or not to give discount, and sometimes I do that, sometimes not. You know, so. I don't know. It's like.
But I interrupt you. But we have never previously met. Yes.
So let's stop there.
Okay.
Thank you. Give a round of applause to Alan Hill. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, you can put microphones down. Yeah, great. Okay, so went entirely the way I didn't want it to go. So, but never mind. It's totally okay. It's okay because we'll still learn from things from it. So. So, Allah, what did you, how do you think you did? 50-50? Okay. What did Allah start doing at the very beginning?
No, it was invasive. She began to speak constantly.
Yes, right. So she didn't ask any questions,
Yeah.
right? So remember I said earlier, find out why. Why do you want it? So she just went, steampunk, and you'll love it, and it's great, and it's great, and it's brilliant, it's brilliant, brilliant. It's brilliant. Buy it, buy it. Right? It's a pressure, pressure, pressure. Of course I'm exaggerating, but still is like the buyer's like, and then she's offering a discount. But actually, Helen's saying, if Allah had stopped to ask her, Helen was saying, she's not price sensitive. She's not really that bothered. She's more interested in the quality. So you don't know why she wants to buy it. You don't know. Another thing is you don't know how much money she has. Maybe she just inherited some money. Maybe she won at the blackjack. Maybe Sasha lent her some money from her winnings at the casino. So you don't know. You haven't even been listening as the seller. You haven't even been listening to the other person. You're just immediately launched into your pitch, right? Typical salesperson, right? Typical salesperson. Here's my pitch. Here's my thing. You're going to love it. It's going to be great. It's brilliant. Buy, buy, buy.
But she told that she doesn't know about this style.
I know.
So
I'm just don't take it too much. It's only just to learn some things. Okay, so as you offered a discount, stones, semi-precious. So Helen asked about the semi-precious stones, and then she said she was going to make it, and then Allah emphasized the uniqueness, but Helen wasn't interested in uniqueness. She was more interested in quality. So more questions, less telling. More questions, less telling. Less tell, sell, and more finding out. So not typical salesperson behavior, right? Let's play word association. Do you know what word association is? I say a word, you say a word back. Okay, salesperson. Manipulate, right? Product. Well, salesperson. Negative. Salesperson. Give me another word that. Huh? Irritating, right? Irritating, annoying. So don't be like a typical salesperson. Because what happens when you're like a typical salesperson? Even if you're not selling a product, even if you're negotiating on behalf of your government or for another reason, don't be like a salesperson. Because you just irritate and annoy the other person, and they immediately put their guard up. They immediately go, oh, okay, they're a salesperson. So, okay, yeah, just come on, just tell me your thing, and then I'm going to ask for a discount. I'm going to ask for a discount. Or you're going to give me a discount if I just shut up long enough, because you're so telling, you're convinced, and you love your product, it's so brilliant, it's the best thing you've ever had. And you lose me. So I might just give up. So, not interested. What? Yeah, and then you're going to give it away, or you had no obligation, or you sell it in the store. Buyer asked how much, and you immediately give a discount. But she was also interested in the quality. So what often happens in this type of negotiation is the buyer. So the buyer will ask the seller how much it is, right? Why do you have to answer? Why do you have to answer? Why do you have to tell them if you don't know why they want it? So, is price important? So another question you might ask is price important to you?
Sure.
Might not be. Helen might have won the lottery. She's got loads of money. She's looking for this unique, semi-precious stone and steampunk jewelry. So she doesn't care. It's not so important to her. She's got a lot of money to burn. So you don't know. So don't just go assume immediately that you should have to answer. And same thing for a buyer, right? Well, you could say, how much is your budget? It's like, well, why do you want to know? So you don't necessarily have to answer. So typically this kind of thing is going to go like, okay, seller's going to say 30, buyer's going to say 15, for example, and then seller's going to say, okay, 20, and the buyer's going to say, okay, 18, and then maybe they'll meet on 19 or something like that. Oh, I've got euros there, okay, dollars, right? So it's very typical, right? why would you do that if you know where you're going to end up? Right? Well, that's one thing. But another thing is if you do know that in advance, this is very common. You don't have to do it like this. This is very common. What you need to do is you need to plan in advance. So this is the preparation. The preparation is you want to think of what is my first proposal going to be? My first proposal. Then what's my target? What am I going to be happy with? What am I going to be happy with? And if you, like, to go back to our casino. Who is a casino really happy to see? They're really happy to see somebody who's no idea how much money they're willing to lose. Right? So have an idea, your walkaway point. Your WAP, your walkaway point. How much is your walkaway point? So what's the lowest you're willing to accept? Another thing you want to have is a backup plan. Why should you have a backup plan as a buyer? Why should you have a backup plan as a buyer?
If the seller proposes to do a high price,
Yeah.
you know what to do.
Yeah, you can go somewhere else, right? Why would you need to have a backup plan as a seller?
Because when your buyer started to go in a way, just like wait, I have another proposal.
Yeah, I have another one, or yeah. So it's alternatives. You need to have a backup plan so you can do something else. You've got choices then. If you don't have a backup plan, I need to buy this Peerless Jewelry now because it's my cousin's birthday tomorrow and I forgot all about it. Right? Then you can put your price up as a seller, and vice versa. It's like, oh, the other way around. Then you can put it, maybe get it down if she doesn't have a backup plan. So you need to figure out. That's one simple thing. Even if it's not about price, right? Who negotiates about price? Hands up. Nobody? Okay, a few of you. Who negotiates? What kinds of things do you negotiate about?
Time frame.
Time frame, right? So time frame, you could have 3 different time frames. So have a time frame where you'd be ecstatic. I'd be really, really happy about it. Have a time frame that is your real target, and then have a time frame that would be your walk-away minimum, right? Because often in this type of negotiation, we expect the other person to give way. Fair? If you're buying or selling something second-hand, not in a shop, but second-hand, you'll expect the person will come down a little bit. So give them something. Give them a little bit, but it's not really, you'll actually be happier here, the target. Does that make sense? So as preparation, figure out what's my starting price, what's my target, what do I want, what would make me happy, and what will be my walk-away point. That would be, so I'm already prepared, I'm already happy, and I know that if they offer me lower than my walk-away point, I say, no, thank you. Okay, I said this in the advertisement. What's the strongest position you can be in before a negotiation?
Preparation.
Sorry? Preparation? No. Although maybe part of preparation. What's the strongest position you can be in when you're negotiating?
You don't
Future
care
plan
about
for
the result.
both results, if it was compromise.
No. No.
Be adaptive
No.
to the knowing position of your opponent.
Sorry?
A knowing position.
Nope.
Self-confidence,
Nope.
unique offer.
No. None of those things. Helen, I'll go with you one more time.
Maybe look at some rivals in this
No.
one.
When you,
Nothing to-
when you
no-
understand if you're superior and they're
No.
going to be
Nothing to do with that. You know what the strongest position is?
Backup plan?
No. Nothing to do with backup plan either. Your good guesses. No, nothing to do with that. You're the strongest position. If you let me finish. Let me tell you. Or you don't want to know. Shall I forget? Shall I tell you another time? Tell me now. The strong.
Give us a chance.
I thought you had a chance. You had a chance. Come on.
If your buyer
suppose
talks
you-
more than you,
You want to hear from us that our negotiation skills.
Sorry, I'm confused.
Negotiation
You
skills.
simply answered all the questions altogether.
As confidence, our negotiation skills and our strong position, our power.
No. So it's not to do with your power. It's not to do with your preparation, really. Not to do with the result. It's that you don't need the negotiation to be successful. You don't need it to be successful. You don't need a completed negotiation. You don't need to sign on the dotted line. You don't need to exchange money. It's like, maybe if it's good for me, it's good for you, then okay, we'll do a deal. But the strongest position you can be in is, I don't need the business. Because then you can just walk away, say, no, you're being a idiot. I don't like you. We'll just say goodbye. We'll just say thank you very much and goodbye. That's the strongest position you can be in. So if you don't have that, try to negotiate that. Maybe it's not, you don't have the ability to do it forever, but if you can delay, you can say, not today. And they're really desperate. They need to finish. They've got a lot of pressure, and you don't have time pressure. If you can negotiate more time with your boss than you, or with whoever, then you've got an advantage over them. Does that make sense? So the strongest position you can be in, I would say, is you don't need the business, you don't need the negotiation to be successfully concluded. You can just walk away and say, thank you very much. No, thank you. That's the strongest position. You've got a power then, because if the other person is, you feel like you have to make a deal, then you're going to make mistakes, or you're going to give away too much. Does that make sense? Yep. So if you can put yourself in the mentality as, I'm never more than just an equal with them, right? So who's got the power, the buyer or the seller? So votes for seller. Who's got more power, the buyer or the seller? The seller votes for the seller. Okay. Votes for the buyer. Both, right? It should be. It doesn't matter who you are. You should be if you're the seller, because often we think, I don't know. You heard this before? Customer is king. You ever heard that before? Maybe that's just an American phrase. Customer is king. The customer is always right. You heard those ones? Right? No. No, they're not. Because sometimes customers are awful. They're terrible. Yeah? Sometimes your customers are terrible. The ones who are the cheapest are the biggest pains. Right? They're most annoying. They're most irritating. Or your clients, so whether you're not customers, or just stakeholders. So the power you can have is like, we're equal. I've got a service as a seller. If you're selling, I've got a service. So you've got a problem. And my service is a solution to that problem. So I've got power too. And we're just going to talk and see if it's a good idea to work together. That's the strongest position you can be in for as a seller. But as a buyer too, it's just 50-50. Not trying to think that you're better than they are, but that you're equals. And you're just going to see, is it a good idea for us to work together or not? Is it a good idea for us to conclude this negotiation and work together? What's the cost of a bad negotiation? What's the cost of a bad negotiation? I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about money. What's the cost of if you try to implement the agreement, what's the cost of a bad negotiation? You made a bad deal. You gave away money. You're dissatisfied. They're dissatisfied. Right? Imagine, if you buy something, sometimes you buy something too cheaply, you don't think it's that valuable, right? Mm-hmm. You don't think it's that valuable. So they might be dissatisfied. What's another hidden cost of a bad deal? Bad reputation. Yeah, what else? Time, right? Losing your time. You can always earn more money. You can never get time back. Mm-hmm. So I have a no idiot rule, but the word I'm not using the word idiot. It's a stronger word than idiot. But I don't, because life is short. Why would I work with somebody I don't like or don't respect? Yeah, why would I work with them? We don't get on a personal level. Then I'm not going to work with them because I have a choice. I always think there's always ways I can earn more money. There's always places I can go there. Now maybe you don't have that choice. But what can you get? Maybe you're not negotiating enough with your hierarchy, with your bosses or other people, to get enough space, to get enough, we say, room for maneuver. Right? Have I got room for maneuver so that I don't have to do the deal today? Because that's the real power. I don't have to make this deal today. That's power. You've got more power than the person if they have to make the deal. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Good. We're going to take a break in about 15 minutes. Okay, not yet. Right, so, seller's desired price, I've done that already. Okay, get out a piece of paper and I want you to make a little grid like this. This is something I use all the time to prepare for negotiations. This is something I do all the time to prepare for negotiations. It's called the stakeholder analysis. Sometimes called strategic analysis. So if you're looking for a practical tool to negotiate, this is one of them. This is one of them. This is all about your preparation. And we already agreed that some of you don't prepare very much, or you prepare every so often, not all the time. Okay, so preparation, stakeholder analysis. So on the left side, you're going to have five rows: objectives, stakes, assets, constraints, and strategies. And just for this example, I want you to have 3 columns. I want you to have you and 2 other people that are a stakeholder. They're interested in the result of your negotiation. So it could even be, a partner. It could be your wife. It could be somebody else. It could be your boss. It could be a colleague, right? Somebody who's interested in the result of negotiating. So just ignore the last 2, but you can fill. NC stands for negotiating counterpart. So other person, stakeholder, you can also say. Do you understand what I mean by stakeholder? What's a stakeholder?
Interested person.
An interested person, interested party, right? So objective, actually, you know what? Do you last? Do you last? So think of, I'm just going to take one example, and then you're going to do your own version. Just draw the boxes. Okay, so who's got an upcoming negotiation? Who's got an upcoming negotiation? Anybody in the audience? You've got a negotiation you're going to do. It doesn't have to be business. It could be any type of negotiation. Nobody? Yes, sir. There we go. Can you take one of the stakeholders, so the other people who's involved? Who would that be? You don't have to name names. Just tell me roughly what kind of stakeholder they are. They're your boss? Are they? Who would they be?
Investor.
An investor. Okay. So one of the stakeholders is an investor. So objective. What's their objective in terms of this negotiation? Would you say?
I think money and time frames.
Okay. Is that the only? When they're investing in something, what else might they want?
Conditions.
Okay, so they're interested in certain conditions, yes.
Steady development.
Maybe steady development or high development, quick development, for example. Get their money, a return on them investment quickly, for example. So those are things you might want to write down. Okay, what's at stake for them in this negotiation? Yes, please. All right, hey, write it down. I haven't got a pen and paper. Are you writing this down? Are you taking notes? So what's at stake for them in this negotiation, for the investor, in terms of if they achieve their objective and if they don't achieve their objective? So if they achieve their objective of getting a fast return on investment, what's good about that? Is that really important to them? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We might think so, but you might not necessarily know. So question sometimes: what happens if they don't achieve a high return on investment? What's the problem then? What's at stake for them?
Well, they lose money.
Yeah, they lose money. Okay, they lose money, but is there anything else?
They will probably not invest again.
They might not invest again. Yeah, but that's more for your stake, actually. That's his stakes. What else? They lose time. Is there anything else? Maybe it's bad for their reputation, for example.
Yes.
It's bad for their reputation and means that, you invested in yet another dud, a useless company, for example. That might not be good. Maybe their reputation's important to them. So stake, you've got to think about what stakes are important to them in terms of achieving their objective. Assets, what do they have that will help them achieve their objective in terms of, will help them in terms of assets. What will help them? So for example, think about knowledge, skills, attitude, relationships. So assets don't have to be money. It could be, now that's an obvious one, but knowledge, skills, and attitude can also be assets. Right? So knowledge, skills, and attitude. So what do they have in terms of trying to achieve their objective? Maybe it's experience. Are they an experienced investor?
Me?
No, your stakeholder, the other person we're talking about. Are they experienced?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay, so that goes in the next one, next box, constraints. What could be potentially problematic? Inexperience. Yeah? What else? What is an asset? What is something that they have that will help them achieve their objective of a high return on investment? Do they have anything else? Do they have support? Do they have other people who, do they have mentors? They've got a team. Okay, anything else?
Support from government.
Support from government, okay, could be. So it's not really their money or they're getting other logistical support. Okay, then we go constraints. So what's everything they have to lose if they, or sorry, prevents them from achieving their objective? It could be their inexperience. Is there anything else that's a constraint on them achieving their objective of a high return on investment?
Different choices of other people that could be more experienced than me.
Okay, then you or them? You. Okay, so the constraint is, so what's your name, sir? Ivan might be inexperienced. Or there might be other people that are more experienced than because I'm inexperienced, I don't know who to choose. Right? That could be a constraint. Or there's a lot of choice and I've got limited time. So that could be a constraint. And therefore, based on all of those things, the constraints, the assets, the stakes, the objectives, what is my strategy likely to be? So what is the stakeholder strategy likely to be based on their objective? If their objective is a high return investment, what's their strategy likely to be? There. Yeah, so you're always considering it from their point of view. You're putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Right? What would be their constraints? Their strategy.
I think that they would compare different proposals.
Okay, so they're going to compare different proposals. Are they going to speak to anyone else, perhaps?
Of course.
Right. They're going to speak to their team, right? So they might be getting a lot of advice. They're going to compare a lot of proposals, and what's the effect on you? It's going to take time, probably. Is that fair? Yeah, it's going to take time. So if you're wanting a quick an investor to make a quick decision and go boom, 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 here's your money, then that person is not the right person, perhaps. Maybe that's not so important, but maybe it is. So you're considering things from their point of view, and not in a negative, nasty way, but more like a helicopter view, neutral. Just if I was them, how would I see it? And then you do the other stakeholder. So who would the other stakeholder be? I'm not going to do it, but who would they be? Another person who's involved.
Another investor.
Is another investor? Okay, is there anyone else that on your side or a different position? Nobody, just you, and you're the only person. Okay. Okay, so it could be another investor, it could be someone else, but it's another stakeholder. And then you do yourself last. I usually do myself last. Why? Why do you do yourself last? Your objectives, your stakes, your assets, constraints, and strategies. Why do you do yourself last?
Probably to amend your strategy.
Yeah, exactly. To amend your strategy or change your strategy based on what you found out from the other ones. Now, this is a great one. Even if you got a blank, you don't know, I don't know what their objective is. That's good information to know beforehand, right? It's good information to know beforehand because you need to find out who do you know who knows them. Yeah? Who do I know who knows them? Where can I find out this information? Is it printed somewhere? Is it on the internet? Is it somewhere? Is it someone I can find out? Do I have a relationship with them? And also, even if maybe you just have a blank because you just don't know that moment, then leave the blank and then your unconscious mind might fill it in later. Because at the moment, your conscious mind is just coming out with all the stuff you already know, and later on, your unconscious mind is going to feed you some interesting things. So even if you don't manage to fill it all in, it's still really useful exercise. And then you do yourself last, and then you can figure out a little bit more about, okay, what am I going to do? What's my strategy going to be in this upcoming negotiation? Because I've thought about it from their position. You know, sometimes I literally do that. I will sit in a different chair and look at them, because that helps me. It might not help you, but just sit in a different chair and think, okay, I'm looking at myself from this other position, and then I'll go somewhere else, and I'll go, okay, how does it look from over here, between the two of us? Just because that might just give you a little bit more an insight or a different viewpoint, which will help you get more information. And then this is a great thing for you to know, but it's also, if you could take it. So do you have an advisor? Do you have anybody you trust You don't have to tell me, but is there a person like that? Yeah. So this is a kind of document that you can take to them and say, here's what I've written down. What do you think? Does this sound right, or what am I missing? What's wrong with this little analysis? Is there something I'm missing? Do I need to have a different objective? Is there something in terms of the stakes that I'm missing? That actually it's a really much more high stakes for them. So it's a great document to write before you actually do a negotiation. Does that make sense? And I'm not. It doesn't have to be a sales negotiation. It can be a negotiation with your mum and dad. It can be a negotiation with your boss. It can be a negotiation with a colleague, right? Because as I said at the beginning, you weren't here. You're negotiating all the time. So obviously, not obviously, but you're not going to do this for every single negotiation you have. But you've got an important negotiation. This is a really great document for you to just sit back and think, and then also to share with somebody else and ask them, what do you think? Am I missing something? Is there other things? Does that make sense? Yes? Okay.
So what's the value of this analysis?
Then it's short form, I change my strategy. I'll be smarter. I'll also have thought about them. So for example, I might not be as competitive because I realize I shouldn't be competitive. Makes you think a little bit more about what am I doing? Not just, like Pavlov's dogs. You know Pavlov's dogs? You heard that, right? Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. Right? It's just like, oh, all right, I'm normally competitive. I'm naturally competitive. So negotiation, boom, competitive. Right? But that might not be appropriate. That might be if you're trying to build a relationship with them, right? What's the problem if you have a bad relationship with an investor? It's a big problem, right? They're a pain in the behind. They're calling you. It's like, it's stressful. So it can the gain or the win of doing this, the reason for doing this is to reconsider your strategy and think about it in terms of look at it from other people's position. Get extra information. Get information that I'm not. So there's things that you don't know you know. There are things you don't know you know, but your unconscious mind knows them.
One question, just to continue this topic.
Yeah.
If you want to find an investor,
yes.
You know that in early stages they are looking for 4 times ROI in 3 years' time or so. But your business model is to grow the business, to be in business for more than 5 years, 6 years or so.
Yes.
Your power is to make them invest despite their intention to get money back in 3 years time or so. Or what do you mean, to change the strategy? My own strategy is to be in business more than 10 years, let's say.
Okay.
Investor strategy is to sell the business in 3 years' time and get more money back.
You know what?
How should I negotiate with them?
I think I'll answer you privately because I don't think it's of interest to everybody. Is that fair, or you want to hear this?
Yeah.
You want to hear this? Okay. I mean, so let me understand this. An angel investor wants to
get money back in
3 years' time, but you want to be around for 10.
I want to be in business maybe for 10.
What's the problem? What's the problem?
So as an exit strategy, in the beginning, when you pitch, they want to see that you are selling the company or do IPO or something else. But it's not in your personal strategy.
Okay.
All angel investments want to get money back as soon as possible.
Okay.
So how should I negotiate with them? Should I
What do you think? Let's.
Should I lie them that I want to sell the company in 3 years' time, or should I persuade them better to stay in the business? Or
What's the problem with lying? What's the problem with lying?
Reputation risk.
Reputation risk. You could be found out. Yeah, there's all kinds of problems there. And what was the other option? Sorry, you gave me.
To persuade them just to forget 4 times ROI and to go.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good. Why don't you try that? What's the problem with that? I guess.
Doesn't it look like silly that you know in advance, you learn the investor, you know that they want money back as soon as possible, and you as a stupid going there and trying to.
It's all about negotiate. It's all about how do you negotiate? What are the terms of the negotiation? So it's all about, how are you gonna? What's important to you? What's important to them? Is there a match? A little bit like my example with the water. can you find an alternative third position, which is not, because here we've got, like the classic one is a compromise there. It could be, okay, we'll meet in the middle at 5 or 6 years, for example. That could be a compromise. But actually, you're unhappy with that, right? They're unhappy with that. So that's not a good deal. They're not happy. You're not happy. With my example with the water is, well, why do they want what they want? Why do they want the 3-4 years? Is that the only thing that's important to them? Is it also important to them to maybe do something that helps humanity? Do something that is builds their reputation? You know, so is it a good product? So I would always be investigating what's their interest? Why are they doing it? Why do they want what they want? And also so this is another thing, another preparation. Brainstorm win-wins. Before you go into the negotiation room, brainstorm win-wins. That's part of your prep. What are possible examples of both of us winning? There's a separate thing. Yeah, so as I said, reputation could be important to them. It could be that, it enhances their reputation in some way, shape, or form. What's another possible scenario that helps them to get something that's, it's not just about the money, right? It might not just be about the money, because the money is often a cover-up, right? Exit interviews, this is a classic. Exit interviews for organizations. Why do people leave? So an exit interview is when the company interviews the person who's leaving the organization. What do people say? 99 times out of 100. Why are they leaving? Salary, right? They say, oh, because I got more money. Yeah. Is that the real reason?
Probably not.
No. It's because they're demotivated, their boss sucks. Their surroundings suck. Something's changed, the conditions change. It's not as much fun anymore. Yeah. So there's lots of other reasons. So often people will say it's about the money. You know, maybe there's an element of that. But is there another place you can meet? Is there a different percentage you can do? So that would be what I would say is investigate. And then also the strongest position you can be in is, I don't need to work with this guy. I don't need this guy to be my investor because he's just going to be pushing me and harassing me. Come on, faster, more results, quicker, faster. And I'm going to be stressed. And if I'm stressed, and if I'm probably not performing at my best, I'm going to miss things. And I'm going to mess things up. And then he or she is going to be on my case even more. So then you've got to consider from your position, is this the right person to invest with? So maybe it's not about it's not also considering from your situation, your side, is this the right person for me to invest in? Sir, and then we're going to break.
Could you give, please, an example of one of the best negotiations ever in your life, your person?
Mine? I met a man I've never met before, and within 1 hour, he gave me £5,000 of his own money.
What did you do?
You'll find out after the break. So come back in 10 minutes, please. Look at your watch. Okay. Add 10 minutes, and that's the time I want you back in the room, watered and coffeed and toileted. No, I don't want to do that. I want to do that. Oh, well. Learn from the first session. What did you learn from the first session? Sorry? A lot of stuff. Give me one thing that you learned, sir. Sasha, isn't it? It's another Sasha. Yeah.
So, okay, so if I have an opportunity, but an ability to walk away from negotiations without doing anything, then I'm in superior position.
Yes.
So I've got the power.
Yes, you're in a stronger position than your negotiating counterpart if you have the option to walk away. If you don't need the negotiation to be successful. Ala, what did you learn?
I love your expression. You don't have to negotiate to be successful.
Right, you don't have to negotiate to be successful. I didn't even realize I said that. What else did I say? What else did you learn from our session, first session? Madam.
So I learned that you should think over before starting negotiations. Think about your strategy.
Yes.
And the possible strategy of your opponent.
Yes. So, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. Fail to prepare, prepare to fail. It's not necessarily about spending hours and hours on every single negotiation, but you need to do some preparation. You need to think about things from their point of view. Right? People who are very quick and speedy, the problem is they don't spend enough time in preparation. And the other thing is about the execution. But how can you be a good executor if you haven't prepared? Right? You see athletes do that, right? When you think of a successful athlete, who do you think of?
The most prepared.
No, give me a name. Who do you think of? Sorry? Lomachenko.
Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps, right? These guys, it's not an accident. It's not an accident they're successful, right? Yeah, of course, maybe it's the body, but actually you've always got examples of exceptions, right? You've got people who are smaller or they're a different build. Michael Phelps from running, that's probably some of you are probably most of you are too young. All the students are too young. You know, he walked, like the idea mostly amongst sprinters was, oh, you're supposed to be built like this, like really big, and you're supposed to, your action's supposed to be like, he was like this, upright, and hardly pumped his arms, and yet he was a gold Olympic champion. Anyway, let's get away from my point, which is preparation. You don't see it. So you need to prepare. Otherwise, and you need to have a method for preparing as well. Otherwise, you need to have a regular way of preparing. Otherwise, you're going to be worse off than your negotiating counterpart. And yeah, knowing your walk-away point, knowing, well, this guy's offering too little. And it could be in terms of time. It doesn't have to be in terms of money. There's not enough time. No, that's not going to be enough time because I want to be doing it for 10 years. I love this company. Yeah, so what else can you offer me? I can't do 3 years. What else can you offer me? What's another way we could both win? What's another way we could both win? What's another way we could both be happy? Throw it open to them. So thinking about that. Anything else? One more thing, and then we can move on. One more thing. Sir, with the glasses. What did you learn from this first session?
I learned that about that person who tell about investments.
Yes. This man is just coming in behind you. Ivan, right? Yes, Ivan.
I learned a negotiation with that type of person, like investment.
Yes.
And it was cool.
Okay, that was cool. That was interesting. So be a scholar, be a student of negotiation, because as I said at the beginning, it's something you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. So I do a Japanese martial art called Aikido. I've been doing it for 25 years. My master has been doing it since he's 76. He's been doing it since he was 14, something like that. He's Japanese, lives in Japan, right? He's about this height on me. He can throw me halfway over the room. He's much smaller and thinner than me. He can throw me halfway over the room. But he's not walking around going, I'm the master. Oh, yeah, I know everything. No, he's not doing that at all. He's very modest and humble. He says, I learn something from my students every day. Every day. So that's the attitude you want to cultivate, is attitude of humbleness. And that there's always something you can learn if you're paying attention. If you know it all, if the cup is already full, I can't put anything more in there. If your cup is, yeah, I've been doing negotiation for 20 years, I know everything. Really?
Change the cup.
Maybe get a bigger cup, right? Is that true? Or have you just been repeating the same year of experience 20 times? You're not really learning. You're not really growing. Yeah, I study. I go on courses because I want to learn new things. I want to continually expand my growth. I want to have a sense of mastery. I want to develop a sense of mastery where it's curiosity. It's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I'm surprised. Oh, I'm curious about that, right? So the curious person is not a know-it-all. Oh, yeah, I know it all. I've done it before. Yeah. Yeah, they don't know. A curious person is always like, oh, what's that about? Maybe there's something here I can learn. Maybe there's something that's interesting. It's a humbleness that you don't know everything. Because there's always somebody who's better than you, right? Even if you're Olympic champion, for example, one day someone's going to be better, right? You're Roger Federer, right? One day someone's going to be better, as happened to him. Yeah, he's gone back up again. But he learned from that, right? So what did he learn? He learned, I need to play less. Who knew? I need to play less. So we're talking about tennis champion. I don't know if you all know him. I need to play less. So he's still winning at 36, 37. I don't even know how old he is. Because he's humble enough to go, okay, what can I learn? How can, he had time out through injury, self-reflection. You know, the oracle at Delphi, ancient Greece, carved above the door was, know thyself. First of all, know yourself better. And you are not just something, oh yeah, I know myself. Yeah, no you don't. You know parts of yourself. Do you know, are you getting feedback from other people? Are you continually developing yourself? Noticing things? So seek out feedback. Somebody once said, feedback is the breakfast of champions. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. Are you too scared to get feedback from other people? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Right? If you're the best I'm the best negotiator. Yeah, you're in the wrong room. Who can you find you need to up your game again. Right? Is that fair? So there's a necessary humbleness and curiosity that makes people masters, real masters, instead of, yeah, I'm the master. No. Right? You can almost guarantee the person, I'm the master, is not the master. Inverse proportion. Okay, so what's going to help you become, to be a better negotiator is to have a system. Now, some of you might have systems. Some of them just might be unconscious. Some of you you don't know. You don't know what you're doing. Why am I doing this? I don't know. It's because this is how you do negotiations, right? This is the right way to do negotiations. Somebody once, I saw it on Glenn Ross, and people who are negotiators are like this. And they're like really tough. And is that the right way to be a negotiator? Not necessarily. So have a system, and here's one I propose. Okay, so I'm going to use the terms buyer and seller from now on. Even if you're not doing commercial negotiations, this is still useful. So buyer and seller can be, in some senses, you're always selling something. You're selling an idea. If you're trying to persuade somebody to do something, like, for example, your boss to give you extra holidays, you're the seller. You're the seller. What are other things that you try to persuade people to do in negotiations that are not about money? What are other things you try to persuade?
To date.
Sorry?
To date.
To date, to go on a date. Yeah, right, there's a good example. Right, and I'll come back to that metaphor as well, dates. Dates are really useful because what we do, what most people who are selling, and that is they're proposing an idea, are doing, is they're a bad dater. They're a very bad dater. Yeah, they're like, hi, my name's Neil. Should we go back to my place now? That's kind of what they're doing, right? They're very bad daters. They're like, here's my product, here's my thing, have it now, it's great, it's fantastic. I'm telling you, it's great, it's the best thing ever.
So ask the questions, what do you like?
Yeah, you find out more about them. You find out more about it. You try to build the relationship. You don't try to jump in bed with them or whatever it is, or whatever goal it is you might have. That's a bad dater, right? It wouldn't work very often, correct? Probably wouldn't work, you know. Maybe if it was that movie star I secretly like. But most of the time, we do sales like bad relationships. We do sales like, you wouldn't do in that scenario. So why are you doing it like that? It's like the bad salesperson. So anyway, when I'm using buyer and seller, I want you to get out of just the idea of money. It could be about time. It could be other things. It's a proposal. You're selling an idea. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, so that's just to clarify things a little bit. Okay, here's a traditional sales process from the salesperson side. Okay? So we have a little bit of chit-chat, small talk. Here's my prospect, right? If you're in a shop, it might be, hi, how are you doing today? What are you interested in? That one? Okay, you want that? Right, great. Have you? Here it is. Right, we do a little bit of small chit-chat. Is it sincere? Not really, right? Are they really interested? Maybe. Maybe you find nice people, right? But it's very quick. Then you might do a needs analysis, right? If you're in a shop, they'll be like, what are you after? What are you looking for? If you're doing a needs analysis with an investor, what would it be like, Ivan? Or you're trying to find out from the investor, what kind of needs would they have? Or
the total capital.
Right, the total capital, right?
Team,
Sorry?
Team social.
Team social?
Yes.
How many members of the team they have?
Yes.
How big they are? Okay, right. So as a seller, you might, if you're going to a customer or client, you might find out, well, what do you need? Huh? Yeah, it's very quick. Why do you need it? Yeah, so it might be, why do you need it? It's very quick though, right? What's the problem with quick? What's the problem with quick? Errors, right? You miss things. You miss stuff. You miss, well, as my old sales trainer used to tell me, you leave money on the table. Yeah? You leave money on the table, you miss stuff that you could have got. You end up in a position you didn't want to be in, or you're giving away. Like, for example, Alla discounted Helen immediately without finding out. So she left money on the table in a sense because Helen was actually interested in this particular piece and she might have paid more than $30. But she's already gone, at $30, but I'll already give you a discount. So she's left money on the table immediately, right? Then you present based upon so the person says, I need this, and therefore, okay, I'm going to go away and I'm going to make a presentation. Any of you do that kind of thing? Go away and do presentations? Yeah? How much time, madam, what's your name? Larissa. How much time do you spend on a presentation for a customer or a client? What's the longest you've ever spent on a customer or client doing? 2 days, right? That's quite short. You know, if you're doing corporate level, sometimes you might spend a month or weeks. So that's all the team members, all their salary, all the time they're not doing other stuff spent on preparing a presentation. And what happened with your 2-day presentation? Was it successful? Did you manage to sell? Yes. Okay, then sometimes it pays out, but you still lost 2 days, sorry. You still lost 2 days when you didn't necessarily need to. What happens if you're not successful? You spend all that time doing that presentation, what happens? You've lost it, right? There's a poor return on your time investment, right? And you don't. And what are the kinds of reasons that customers? What will the kinds of things that they'll say to you after you've done your presentation? Maybe you made your presentation. What will they say to you? We'll call you back, right? Which means never. Never, right? I'm not going to call you back. No. What else? They might say, oh, that was nice, thank you. We'll call you back. Yeah. So because you didn't present what they really wanted. You went away and you imagined what they might want. They could want. If you thought about it, yeah, that's what you want. Who's in the best place to tell you what the customer or client needs? Or the other person? The other person. The other person, right? The client and the customer. But if you're doing traditional sales process, it's a little bit, sorry, Allah. It's a little bit like Allah. Tell, which is sell. Right? Am I doing any listening? Am I doing any listening? No. I'm not doing any listening. I'm just telling you. So I'm not listening, so I'm making lots of assumptions. I'm making lots of assumptions, and so is that a good basis for making decisions? No. It's not good. It's like building your castle on sand. The story of the three little piggies, do you have that in Ukraine as well? Yeah. So it's building faulty assumptions. So if I'm making a presentation, but I haven't found out from the client, yeah. If I went to you, if I'm investigating the possibilities here. If you came to me and I was a doctor, and you said, "Oh, yeah, I've got this pain in my," and I said, "Oh, take this. That's the thing. Take that, and you'll be fine." That you wouldn't trust that doctor very much, would you? Right? So you're guilty of bad medical practice, malpractice. If you're a lawyer, same kind of thing, malpractice. And that's what salespeople do: is they prescribe without listening, without doing any analysis, without checking. Is this what you actually need, madam?
Can I comment here? So what if you understand that you don't have the exact thing that the customer needs, and you want to propose the thing that you have? For example, if the lady wants the gel with stones, but the another lady, she doesn't have this.
And persuades to sell whatever she has.
Could be, but that's problematic. You could be found out for lying. I don't know. What I would do is I would just be good sales. For me, good salesperson is also, well, I can't help you, but I know someone who can. And it's a real genuine offer. It's not like I'm trying to trick you. It's like, yeah, it doesn't sound like I can help you out, Allah, but Ivan can. Why don't you speak to Ivan?
And they go to Ivan.
And they go to Ivan
And ask the share.
No, you could do, but I would be just like, you know what? Because I've helped out Ivan. Then maybe I do it a few times. Maybe I just don't like the person, right? But I think Ivan would like them, or Ivan would get on better with them. Then maybe Ivan sometimes will go, I try to create a relationship with Ivan. And I'll say, hey, you know what? Sometimes I want to find out, what kind of stuff you do, how you do it, and then maybe I'll send some people your way. And does it make sense you could do that the other way around? I do a little bit like that. In my mind, that's probably a less common mentality, but in my mind, it's not like there's a limited number of people, and they're all. I'm really desperate to get your business, because that's a poor mentality to have. That's a poverty mentality. It's like there's lots of other people. There's lots of other people I can work with. It's not limited to just one. I have to have you, because then you're weak. You're weak like that. If you have to do business with them, there's no position of power.
But what if, okay, I agree that I have limited number of customers, and I understand that I'm weak. What then? For example, I sell to the banks. There are only 100 of banks in Ukraine.
100? That's quite a lot. Well, if you could go to another bank. Go to a foreign bank. Try another way. Maybe I mean, I would never sell something that I don't do. So I wouldn't say, if you said, you know, I do negotiation skills, I do presentation skills. By the way, 25th and 26th of September in Unit City, and 2 webinars in between, presentation skills, 25th and 26th September. I do presentation skills as well. I do writing, I do analyzing and solving problems, creativity, working in teams, leading teams. I don't do project management. I don't care how much you pay me. I'm not going to do project management because I don't like it. And I'm not experienced in it. But I know somebody who's really good at it. So I just wouldn't go there. I would go like, I'm not desperate. You know, find some other way. Know somebody who knows something. Go away and change my offer. I wouldn't put myself in that position because to me that's poverty mentality. I need to think somehow differently. Or I need to talk with them and see, is there something else I could give you? And look for another win-win. That's all I would do. So don't try. I'm not going to try and sell you project management. Don't try and sell them something you don't offer or you don't like either. Okay? Right. Then what happens in it? So we've got the small chit-chat. Find out what you need quickly, very quickly, not really in depth. Here's your solution. I'm going to tell you what you need. Oh, you got pain in your knee? Here, have this thing, right? So I haven't really listened to you. Then I try to close the business. So you get stalls and objections. I'm just going to think it over, right? That's why I got you to cross out maybe. I don't want to think it over. If it's a think it over, it's a soft no. You know, soft no means I don't want to say anything because I think you might be hurt. So I'm just going to pretend that it's not really enough. I'll say, yeah, I'll think it over. What's the problem with think it over? What's the problem with a maybe? Yes, Ivan.
I don't agree with you.
Okay, let me finish my point.
Sometimes people need to negotiate between other.
That's different. That's different. I'll agree with you on that point. I still don't think that's think it over. That's not right now, but I need to consult with my team, and there would be like there's a homework attached. So just a think it over on its own, no. But think it over with homework attached, okay, I could go with that. But there's also another part to my methodology that would stop you from doing that would prevent that from happening. So think it over. Why is think it over bad? Because it's not really think over. It's a waste of your time. You're thinking that this person is really a prospect, but they're not. They're not. They're just wasting your time. Talk to someone else. Okay, wife, business partner, boss. Maybe. Not a good time. Later. Just say, no, thank you. And, we'll part friends. Goodbye. I'm not going to contact you again. If you contact me again, I'm just going to drop my phone in surprise because you're never going to contact me again, are you? Price is too high. Is that really the issue? Most of the time, as I said, it's not really the issue. It's maybe you just don't need it. That's more, or it's not relevant. It's nothing to do with the price. It's about how much you actually need it, right? If you had some life-threatening disease, I hope you don't, but if you had a cancer or something terrible and you needed 10,000 American dollars, would you try hard? Yeah, right, you try really. Is money enough? If you had the money, would you, you could sell something, even if it was selling your home or selling something, would you do that? Yes or no? Probably, right? Probably you would do it because price is not really that much of an objection. It's like, I don't really need it. I have to shop around. Now that's a good one. That's what happens when you do traditional sales process is, oh yeah, I'm just going to take it to you're going to take it to another client. That happened to me early in my career. I went to work with one of the top consultancy firms in the Netherlands, and I spent a lot of time preparing my presentation with my colleague. The two of us flew over to the Netherlands from London, and we made a presentation. And then what did they do? They took the presentation and they took it to their local supplier and said, here, can you do this but cheaper? Yeah, and they said, okay. And so they phoned us back and said, yeah, I'm sorry, our local supplier is going to do it cheaper. So waste of my time, waste of my money. They didn't refund the flights. And we gave the business to someone else. So because you're presenting, you're giving away your plan. Giving away, you shouldn't give away your plan unless they're paying for it. Chase mode, then they disappear. You try to chase them, right? You're unlimited. You get unlimited. As a salesperson, you try and chase them, and they're not there. The buyer side is a bit different, right? So this is the person you're trying to persuade. Small chit chat. They have a lot of talk. Then they mislead. Why do they mislead you? Why do they mislead you? Why does a buyer typically mislead a seller?
Because they don't want.
Because they don't want. Because you haven't listened to me. You haven't asked me any questions. You're just telling me this stuff, right? Self-protection. I'm trying to protect my budget. I'm trying to protect my wallet. I want to keep it in my back pocket. I don't trust salespeople. Remember I said that? I did that word generation, that word association game earlier. When you think of salespeople, what do you think about? Right? It's not usually the best and the highest, the brightest hope of humanity, right? Because salespeople, mostly what they do is really icky, is really manipulative. Is that fair? Yeah. So what you do? So that I'm trying to give you an idea of another way of doing it. And don't be like traditional salespeople, because what they do is icky. What they do is not nice. What they do is manipulative. And then what if you, even if you're successful as a salesperson and you manage to convince some stupid person to part with their money, what's the problem with that? What's the problem with that?
Nobody wants to give us money.
Yeah, reputational damage, right? People are not going to want to work with you anymore because they heard about this other person. Because there's a saying in sales that, if you're happy, you tell 2 to 3 people. If you're unhappy, you tell 7 to 9 people, right? Is that fair? If you're unhappy with a product, do you tell people? No, some of you don't. Okay, but mostly you're more likely to be strongly emotionally motivated, right? If you're unhappy. Is that fair? You're more likely to complain. So tricky closes and manipulative tactics. So I'm going to mislead you. I'm going to tell you all this nonsense, and I'm going to exaggerate not having problems, or I'm having major problems. That's what I'm going to do to try to. I'm not, because I don't really want to work with you because you're just pushing the stuff on me, or I'm trying to gather information from you. I'm trying to find out about how much do you cost. So I can go to my supplier and say, hey, this other guy, what's this other woman? She's selling for $30. Can you push your little price down, please? Then, information gathering, product knowledge. You are their favorite person because you are the unpaid consultant. You do all this work. You do all this presentation. It was a risk, right? Even though you got the job, it was a risk, right? It was you did all this work and you didn't know if you're going to be successful. Right? If you're doing a tendering process and you're with local government, you're doing all this work and you have no idea if you're going to sell, if you're actually going to be successful. So they're going to find out your price. Why is it a bad idea to give your price first? We didn't do that earlier with our example with Helen and Allah, but why is it a bad idea to give your price first if you are, well, either way, if you're the buyer, to say what your budget is? Yes, so seller can just readjust. And what's the other way around? If you tell the buyer how much it's worth or how much you're selling it for, what's the problem there? They're going to shop around, right? And they're never going to pay more. It's unlikely. It's very unlikely they're ever going to pay more money than you tell them is your ceiling price, because you haven't investigated first. You haven't found out what money they've got, how much budget they've got, or why they're interested in buying this thing. Remember that I said earlier, the interest. So you're just throwing money into the dark and hoping.
Excuse me, and
yes.
It's the right time to speak about the price anyway.
After you found out about their problems. We'll come back to that. So they shop and compare your bids. They possibly negotiate a lower rate with an existing supplier, or you give them the plans and they do it themselves. Oh, thanks very much for your presentation. Thank you. Goodbye. We'll call you. Yeah, sure. You never hear from them again. So you've given them you've done all this work, all this hours of work. You've given them the blueprint to go away and do it themselves. Then, if this sounds great, they're really happy. Yeah. So the most positive prospect is the most dangerous. Actually, this is the opposite of traditional sales mentality, right? The person who's really positive is they're going to buy, they're going to buy, they're going to buy. Does that happen all the time? No, they're often doing it because they feel they take pity on you. There could be lots of reasons why they're positive. And you leave willingly. You say, okay, yeah, of course I'll come back in next week. Or of course I'll do a presentation and come back in a couple of days. Yeah, of course I will. I'll stay up till midnight and do all this other stuff. And then you give them more information, which they're happy to do because they're going to sell it to someone else. Or they go to their existing supplier, or they're going to do something else. Then they go into hide mode, voicemail jail. They're on vacation. They're answering the phone. And they don't call you back. You are a pest. Now, yeah, who's had this? Who's had this? Where, let's say you're on the receiving end, like a estate agent or somebody you don't really want to talk to, and you just screen their call and go, nope. Yeah? Happened to you? Or the email comes again, and you're like, delete. Right? Because they become a pest. They become annoying because they haven't really listened to you. They haven't really found out what you want. So, who wrote this system? It should be this. Who wrote that? It should be that system. Spell check. Who wrote that system? Doesn't make sense, right? Sales side, small chit chat, needs, presentation, close. I try and close and chase them. Buyer, small chit chat. I mislead you. I try to get information. I further mislead. Hide. Is it good for the buyer or the seller? Neither. It's good for neither, right? You get that? For both of them, yeah. Neither of them, yeah. There's bad for them both. It's bad for both of them. Yeah, okay. Bad for both of them. So it's not good. Does that make sense? What do you do differently instead? How do you get past these challenges? Who does this guy look like? What's his profession? Manager, yeah. Security, lawyer, maybe. Salesperson, maybe? Actually, I Googled salesperson, and this guy came up. Right? Salesperson, right, yeah. If you look and act like a salesperson, you probably think you're doing a great job, right? You get your best suit on, you drive up in your Audi. Wow, look at me, I'm so successful. Woohoo. But what do they think? Ah, yeah, second-hand car dealer. Oh, yeah, do you trust them? Oh, yeah. You feel you're untrustworthy because you're doing all the typical behaviors of a salesperson. You're not listening to me. You're not asking me questions. You're just going to tell. And I'm going to tell you nothing. I'm going to bullshit you. Oop. Sorry, didn't say that. Censored. 10-second delay. So you're doing the behavior of a traditional salesperson. Then they're going to look at you like this. Does that make sense? So even if you're not doing a salesperson role and you're negotiating with your boss, they're going to feel like you're lying. You're not really telling the truth. Does that make sense? Your boss is going to think, let me dig a little bit. Let me find out. Let me just push back and say no. See what happens then. So, what's your alternative choices? Here's a different way of doing things, not the traditional sales way. Not the traditional sales way is pattern interrupt. You interrupt the pattern. You don't do what normal salespeople do. You do the opposite. Do you know Columbo? Ever seen Columbo? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and do you know Columbo? What does he do? What's his job? He's a detective. Does he look like a smart, really super smart detective? Does he sound like a smart detective? No. Does he always get the bad guy in the end, or the bad woman? Yeah. Yeah, he does. Because he's under the radar. He's not doing what typical salespeople do, which is they put their best suit on, and they put their best clothes, and they do their flashy presentation, and they smile, and yes, no problem. Of course I can do that. You want it yesterday? No problem. Does that make sense? So I do all the typical sales behaviors. Then your buyer is immediately going to go into, well, this last bit is what I call the buyer-seller dance. It's like, you know what's going to happen, right? I do this, you do this. I do this, you do this. I do this, you do this. Right? So it doesn't end well for anybody. Because maybe I have something that the buyer really needs. But because I'm doing things in a way that there's just going, it's like the beggar. Money, 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 please, please, give me money, please. Then I'm going to go, whoa, 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 no, no. So immediately, Helen was like, quality? I'm interested in quality, actually. It's not about the money, because maybe I wasn't listening. So that's not, you don't want to get into the buyer-seller dance. You don't want to act like the typical salesperson, because then you will be treated like the typical salesperson. Does that make sense? So it's a bit of reverse psychology. Those of you who are more experienced in sales are going to be ones that hate this the most. Yeah, those of you who are relatively new to negotiating, then it's going to be, that's interesting. So remember, what was the problem with this? What was the problem with this diagram? Yes, divergent interest. What else? What about the process? Is it a stable process? No, it's not. So there's confusion, there's lack of comfort, and there's lack of commitment. Right? I don't know you, don't like you. Why should I do business with you? Does that make sense? There's confusion. I don't know what's going to happen. Confusion and lack of comfort. Yeah, I'm uncomfortable. So this is not it's not a good basis for a negotiation. Right? Is that fair? So don't do it like that. Do it like this instead. Have a pre-negotiation contract. Have a pre-negotiation contract, which is you try to reduce the discomfort, the mistrust, and the confusion. You try to reduce all of those things before you start. And also, as the salesperson or the person selling the idea or the person, you take charge. It's not like you don't do the customer system, because the customer system is probably not going to be good for you. Or the other person, their system's not going to be good for you. Does that make sense? Yeah, why is it not going to be good for you? If you follow their system. You need to submit a proposal. You come in on a Friday and you do you've got a half an hour slot. And why is that not going to be good for you? If you follow, you're following their rules. It's unlikely to be. It's going to be all good for them. So rather make the rules yourself, or you agree with them. It's not just a diktat. You're not just telling them, but you talk about. So, for example, you ask about how long do we have? How long do we have today? And if they say, what's your name? Margot. Yeah, Margot. How much time do we have to negotiate today? Yeah. 5 minutes. Right. And if I know 5 minutes is not going to be long enough, I say, maybe we should maybe we need to speak on another day. Maybe we need to speak on another day. Maybe we need to set another time. So make sure you've got enough time to have a good negotiation. In fact, I'm going to skip ahead to this little bit here. Avoid interruptions. Why would you want to avoid interruptions? What's going to happen if you get interrupted during your sales process? The game will be destroyed, yes. Yeah, you've damaged the relationship. You damaged the relationship, yeah. So the bit is this bit. Actually, did I put that? Where did it go? Yeah, I missed this last bit. Sorry, go reverse a little bit. The build of the relationship. At the beginning, you want to build the relationship. At the very beginning, so you start having a bit more trust. So it's not, hi, how are you? Let's go. Right, which is typical results-orientated behavior. You're ignoring the relationship at the beginning. And that, if you don't build a strong relationship, then they're much more likely to lie to you. They're much more likely to not to tell you the truth. Does that make sense? So spend time at the beginning. Even if you're the fastest, toughest person in the world, it's not a good idea to rush this stage. Build the relationship first. Build rapport. Rapport is a French word for connection. Build connection with them. So what kinds of things would you do? to build rapport, build relationship with somebody at the beginning of a negotiation? It doesn't have to be complicated. What's a simple thing you can do to build rapport?
Just speak about the thing that the other person worry about. It's like if he's a person
That's
from...
too early. Too early. What else? Yes, sir. Sasha.
Yeah, Google's name of the company or the name of the...
Yeah, that's the preparation. No, what else do you do? Yes, Helen.
Some experience with person in this particular situation that need this person.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm not hearing what I'm looking for, which is, would you like a cup of coffee? What would you like to drink? How was your journey here today? Yeah. You know, like on you and genuine, and being genuinely interested, right? Not just like, yeah, I'm just gonna say this stuff. I'm just gonna say this stuff, and you know, just because it's the bit we need to get through. I've heard that Neil told me I need to build a relationship, so I'm just gonna go through all this stuff, right? It's like genuinely being interested, genuinely trying to build a relationship. Why do you need to build a relationship? Oops, I lost it. Why do you need to build a relationship? Because you need them. You need them for it to be a successful negotiation. If you haven't built a relationship, they'll lie to you. They'll call you back and say, I've thought about it again. I'm not going to do it. Does that make sense? You haven't built any commitment. You haven't built, because if you are somebody I've never met, I don't know, then, and you just tell. It's like you haven't built a relationship with me. You haven't tried. You're not even interested in me. You're just interested in the money. Just interested in the money. You're just reaching into my back pocket to take the wallet out of me. And you don't care about me. You're not interested in me as a person. You just want. It's just a transaction. And as soon as you get out of my space, the better. The sooner you do that, the better. So it's too transactional. I don't trust you. So build a relationship at the beginning. Contract, set the ground rules. Next step, after you build a relationship, a little bit of a relationship, you know, finding out how they are, how they're doing, how their journey was, just chit chat, but in maybe a slightly deeper level. You know, ask about, if you're going to their office, you know, ask something about their photographs, or if there's something that they're showing to you, like they've got a picture of them with the president. Yeah. Oh, when was that taken? You know, just demonstrate a genuine interest, right? If you're a good salesperson, really a good salesperson, you are curious. You're like Columbo. You're a detective. You don't miss things. You're not just like, focus. I'm just going to sell now. Or I'm just going to persuade them. I'm only interested in you giving me my holiday when I want it. Right? You're just, no. Because you're just doing typical behavior. And they're just going to treat you like you're not really interested in me. Right. So what do you want to get from this meeting? What would you like to get from this meeting? What's a good meeting for you? What's a good outcome? And I'll tell them what I want as well. So I'm interested in hearing a little bit about what your experience in the past. I'm interested in hearing about why you really need to work with somebody like me. And I'll tell them what I want from the call. Because you got rights. As the person who's called the meeting or you want the particular thing, you've got rights too, so you should tell them what you want. You tell them a no option as well. So I say, you know what? No is okay for me. Why is no a good result of a negotiation?
It's an answer.
It's an answer, yes. Okay, so it's a direct answer. And why might that be a good thing? No commitment from both parties. I save time. So that's one reason why no is a good answer. So I'm happy with a no. I'm not wasting time. What's another reason no is okay for me? I learned something. Right? I learned something. Oh, I did that stupid thing again. I didn't spend enough time building a relationship. What's another good reason that no is a good answer? You know each other's position, maybe. You get more information, yes. You are still learning something, yeah.
Have a chance at this time to have yes answer.
Well, yes, actually, that's true. So no is not necessarily a no. You might find out, okay, it's over now.
My
But what are you going to do about this problem that you told me about earlier? I'm worried because you told me that you've got this big problem. What are you going to do about it if we don't work together? So no is not necessarily a problem. Sorry? Well, maybe. But I'm checking. Again, it's about what's an unreal situation right now, but I'm checking. What else is another good reason for a no is I get a referral. I get a referral from them to talk to somebody else. So you know what, Mr. Investor, doesn't sound like we're going to work. You want a return investment in 3 years, and I can't offer you that. We tried to find some other mutual position, doesn't work. Do you know anyone else who's interested in long-term investments? That might be a good result as well. So always at the end of the process, even if it's a no, find out, and if it's a no, find out, is there anyone else who might be able to help you? Help me. The yes option, why do you tell them what happens if you say yes? Yeah, that's not why I'm telling them what happens if they say yes. What's the reason I'm telling them what happens if they say yes to me today? Yeah, that's not for me. For them, why is it a good thing for me to tell them what happens if we agree? What do I eliminate? What do I reduce? Doubts, confusion, and uncertainty. If I already know what's going to happen afterwards, so if you say yes, then I'm going to go away, I'm going to send you my invoice, I'm going to send you the links to the profiling tool I talked about earlier, I'm going to send you the folder, that's the introductory offer that we give, and here's what's going to happen. Then I'm not confused. I know what's going to happen. I feel calmer, and so it's not confusing to me. You're on the same page with people, right, exactly. So avoid interruptions, already talked about. Biggest fears. Why should you talk about biggest fears up front? At the beginning. Biggest fear was, my biggest fear is you just want to get a return investment in 3 years. Is that right? Why should I talk about that at the beginning?
You will know how to eliminate.
Not to be surprised.
Not to be surprised, yes. What else? It's active listening, yeah, but so what?
You understand the position.
Yes. Sorry, you're building a mutual trust. You know what? You deal with the big problems at the beginning when you choose, not when they choose. So if you're suspecting something's going to be a problem and you're waiting, that affects you. It affects your behavior and your performance as a negotiator. Because you're like, oh, I'm really worried they're going to talk about price later on, and I'm just like, oh. So I'm worried, so I'm not going to perform well. If I choose to, then I also can cut the negotiation. If it's really the case, and that's what they want, and there's nothing else, then I can just save myself time. I just go, okay, we'll just part friends. It doesn't sound like it's going to work today. Is there anyone else that you know who might be a long-term investor and isn't looking to get their return investment in 3 years? And then we just, okay, no, okay, thank you very much. Nice to have met you. Goodbye. Oh. So then I've eliminated a lot of time, and I've been doing another thing which salespeople don't do. I'm being honest and direct. And that's not what the client expects. That's not what customers expect. That's not what your negotiating counterparts expect. So you're doing another form of pattern interrupt. Does that make sense? So I'm in doing something that you're not expecting. It's like, oh, that's different. You're an honest person, and you're a salesperson as well. Whoa, you're the seller? You're selling this idea, and you're doing this honestly? Wow. Maybe that's a good basis for a relationship. Yeah, untraditional, non-traditional. Another thing that I do, which has saved me so much time, effort, money, if we're meeting, let's say we've arranged on the phone to meet and I've gone through this contract, then I'll do it again at the beginning. It doesn't need to be a long process, by the way. For those of you who are mega impatient, it's like, this doesn't need to take half an hour. It can be pretty quick. It can be like 30 seconds to a minute. But you should still do it. Has anything changed since we last spoke? Has anything changed since we last spoke? That's a good one. Because maybe something's changed and you just didn't realize it. You didn't know. And there's no point in you carrying on the meeting, actually, because something has changed. So finding out about that is a really great thing to do at the beginning. One last thing I often ask is it okay if I ask you difficult questions? Or if that seems too risky for you, maybe it's your boss, that doesn't seem appropriate. In a salesperson scenario, we do that. If it's your boss, I would say, I'm going to ask you questions about this and this. Are there any questions that you would like to ask me? So I get permission to ask the relevant questions, because if I don't, if I feel a bit worried about asking this question, what's the problem for me as a salesperson or as a person trying to conduct the sales negotiation? What do I miss if I feel scared and I don't say what do I miss? What do I lack? Trust, information. I miss information, and if I lack information, I'm going to make mistakes and I'm going to offer the wrong thing, the thing that they don't really need. So I get permission to ask difficult questions, because then I can prepare. They've already asked me, and if they get offended, I can say, yeah, I'm sorry. I did ask you if I could ask difficult questions, and you said yes. I'm sorry about that, but this is one of those difficult questions. But I'm doing it because I want to be like a good doctor. I don't want to be a bad doctor. A bad doctor doesn't ask any questions and just gives the medicine. I want to be like a good doctor, and I want to find out what the symptoms are first before I give you the medicine. So getting the questions, getting permission to ask questions. Does that make sense? Yeah? All right. So if you do nothing else, if you take nothing else away from tonight, if you do this, you're already streets ahead of most negotiators. If you do nothing else than just follow these simple things, then there'll be less confusion, there'll be more comfort, people will trust you more because you're being open and honest. Right? That's what builds trust, right? Openness and honesty. You'll save yourself time, you'll save yourself money, you'll do better deals. You'll have better negotiations with the person you're negotiating with, whatever you're negotiating. Whether you're negotiating money or not, you will do a better deal. And you're going to get more commitment to the deal at the end as well. Yeah, so that's, remember, Wild West? The negotiation collapse at any time. Remember that? Okay, next, find out the challenges. Find out the challenges. What are their challenges? You know what? We don't buy for rational reasons. We don't buy things for rational reasons. I know some of you might argue with me. Okay, this is my iPhone, right? Why did I buy this phone? What might I say? I might say, oh, it's because it's got a 12 megapixel camera. It's because it's got this wonderful bright screen. It's because it links up with all my Apple stuff. No. I bought it because it's an Apple and I love Apple, right? So we justify intellectually, but we buy emotionally. That's another reason you need to do this bit about building rapport and relationship, because we buy from people. We don't buy, well, we might buy from a website, but then there's still something about their reputation. That's a passive. That's not a sales conversation, really. It's different. It's feedback. Yeah, they read feedback. Okay. Yeah, they read feedback. So you've got to like, and even if you don't like, you've got to trust, right? Ideally, like, understand, trust, logos, pathos, ethos, from the Greek. Ideally, you want to, but at the minimum, to do business with somebody or to have a successful negotiation, you've got to trust the person. Does that make sense? Trust them at their word. And so you're doing all the things to be the opposite of traditional salespeople. Does that make sense? You're doing the opposite. You're not doing all the other stuff that they do. You're building trust. So you need to find a compelling emotional reason for buying. I'll tell you why this is true as well. They did research on men and women who had the emotional centers of their brain were damaged. They had an accident, some freak accident, and it only damaged one part of their brain. The rest of their brain, their high function. Yes, Sasha?
I'm so sorry, but one half of the audience is troubled by air conditioning.
Yes.
It's, for somebody it's too cold.
Yes.
For somebody it's too hot.
Yes.
Guys, let's negotiate.
I like it. I like it. If you're too hot, come over here. No, sorry, too cold, come over here. If you're too cold, change.
I don't want to be a troublemaker, so decide. Shall we switch it off or switch off?
Right now, switch off. It's cold.
Switch off. We're going to be here another 20 minutes. No. Right. Yes. Yes. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I'll tell you why. I was just started when I got interrupted by Sasha. So it might not appear like that, but it is underneath. So, for example, these poor people, they had their emotional centers of their brain damaged. Do you know what they can't do anymore? They can't make decisions. Egg sandwich, ham sandwich. They can write all the pros and cons that they like intellectually, but they find it almost impossible to make decisions. Even over very simple things, which might, you could do a flow chart, you could do whatever. They can't make decisions because their emotional center of their brain is damaged. So even if it appears to be an intellectual reason, it's not. I'd say 99 times 100. Maybe there's one exception, the B2B. I don't know. I'm not going to go into it because I want to get finished, but usually if you examine it at a little depth, you'll find that why do you do business with somebody? Why do you buy this product? It's not to do with your intellectual decision making. It's because you like it, because you love it, because you have an emotional attachment, because you like them. Or if maybe you're forced to do business, you feel like you're forced to do business and you don't really like them, right? But that's being forced to do it. You have to do it. It's not your choice. If you had a choice, all things being equal, right? You want to do business with people you liked, right? Fair? All things being equal, you want to do business with people you trust, unless you had a gun to your head, right? So finding out what people's I'll give you another example. So imagine you're cooking. What's your name? What's your name? Juno. Julie. So Julie, imagine you're hungry and you're cooking your dinner. You're thinking about all the flavors. Oh, it's really tasty. And then you forget that the pan is really hot and you grab the pan.
Dear friends,
Whoa.
America House is closing in 15 minutes.
Okay, better hurry.
Thank you for spending this day with us. We look forward to seeing you here next time. Please take your belongings from the lockers and have a good night. Друзі, американський дім зачиняється за 15 хвилин. Дякуємо, що завітали до нас сьогодні. Ми завжди раді вас тут бачити. Не забудьте забрати особисті речі з локерів. До наступних зустрічей та гарного вечора.
What would you do? Would you stay and you burn your hand really, really badly? What would you do? Stay and finish your dinner? Or would you go to the hospital? Pain is stronger. Pain, emotional reasons, right? Pain is stronger. So people don't really buy features and benefits. They buy emotionally. They buy because they like you. They buy because you've given them the right alternative, because it feels like, oh yeah, I like that. So if you can fix their problems, 3 types of problem: gain, Bahama Island, tropical island; the foreseeable, sometime in the future; and immediate. If you can fix their pain, a pain and a problem you have right now, that's really strong pain, like your burning hand, then they'll buy that. If it's nice to do, maybe someday, oh, it's beautiful, then you'll maybe do it someday. Does that make sense? So features and benefits, most sales is features and benefits. Here's a good thing, here's a great thing, you should do it, no. But if it's not listening to me, it's great quality, it's what's the steampunk, it's all these things, it's just features and benefits. And maybe I'm not interested, maybe it's another thing I'm interested in. So if you can fix foreseeable future, the future pain is, all insurance is about future pain, right? Avoidance of future pain. If you can fix if I've got a pain and you can fix it, then I'm much more likely to buy that than the thing that's just a nice thing to have someday. Most people at the beginning, they'll just tell you the intellectual problem. Here's my intellectual reason for doing this. Then they might tell you the business impact or the effect it has in money terms. But you want to get down to the personal, because that's their reason. All reasons for buying are really personal. They might justify intellectually, but really they're buying personally. You know that thing when have you ever been for an interview and then the interviewer called you back and said, oh yeah, the other person had more experience? Has ever happened to you? Yes? Yeah? Often it's nonsense. It's not true. It's because they like the other person more. Because managers tend to hire people that are like them, right? That's what happens. So you want to get down. That's why another reason you've got to build a good relationship with the person you're negotiating with. That takes time. It doesn't happen in 2 minutes, instant intimacy, does it? It doesn't happen in 2 minutes. It takes time, so take time. Most sales is rushed. Come on, I'm just trying to get you to the end, so you give me the money. And I can get out of here. Take your time. You've got to get permission for this because it's upsetting. And get permission. That's why I said, is it okay if I ask you difficult questions? Yeah. So go deep. Find out what their real reason, what's their real problem, their real pain, and what's going to help. What's their personal reason for wanting the fix? Because they'll just tell you intellectual at first. That's their disguise. That's the way that's the thing they tell everybody. But underneath is a real personal reason. Right, next, currency investment. Then you talk about price. Then you talk about price. After you find out what the pain and problems are, then you talk about price. Why? Why should you talk about price then?
Pains and problems are fresh in memory.
Pains and problems are fresh in their memory, and if you, again, I'm not suggesting in any way, shape, or form that you try to trick or manipulate people. That's not what this is about. I don't promise. I'm not going to do project management with you. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do project management training with you. I don't do it. But if you found out their pain and their problems, and then you can help them with their pain and problems, then that's a better point because you've got a real understanding of their condition. So it's not like, oh, I've got a sore knee. Here, have this product. No, I understand. You've got a sore knee, but it's been happening for 3 years. And it happened when I had that accident when I was climbing that mountain. And I get a lot more information. I go, you don't need this. That's what I thought you needed. You need that. You need that and this other stuff. So I can make a better proposal that way, right? Do they have enough time? Do they have enough money? Are they willing and able to spend the money? So find out from your clients. Do they have enough time to do what you want them to do? Because remember, they've got to fulfill their part of the agreement too. You've got to fulfill yours, they've got to fulfill theirs. Maybe it requires they have to do extra training. Maybe it requires them to spend a lot of time. And don't discount. Why should you not discount?
It's a pain for you.
Yeah, it's a pain for you. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. Shouldn't discount, just don't do it. Stand tough, stand tall. Stick with your price because you believe in your product or service, and then refer back to their pain. Hey, you know what? This is the price I do it for. Why do you think I can charge that much?
The solution is a real solution to the problem.
Yeah, it's a real solution to the problem. So don't discount. I'm skipping through this very quickly, but don't discount. Refer back to the pain. If they go price, it's not. Remember, price is not really the problem. It's like if you have the solution and you can really help them, and you're asking the right questions, then you create a relationship. They're going to trust you. They're much more likely to do the business with you instead of that other person they don't know who's cheaper. Who's better, a coach that charges you $50 an hour or a coach that charges you $200 an hour? Who's better? You don't know. If the $200 coach an hour, $200 coach could fix your problem in half the time that the $50 coach, would they be better choice? Maybe if time's important to you. Maybe if time's important to you. So it's not about price, it's about value. So you, customers or clients, potential customer, potential client, is all about, oh, price, and they're comparing the wrong things. Yeah? And same thing if you're with your boss. They're thinking about the wrong things. You've got to think about the value. What's the value of me getting my holiday early? What's the value of me doing this thing doing this thing that I want you to? So then you got to go, oh, so the gentleman's gone, Ivan's gone. Oh, well, pity. You didn't get to hear this bit. You find out who's involved in the decision-making process, and are they going to sabotage it? Because how often have you gone away and the person you're negotiating with isn't the real decision maker? Yeah, the real decision maker is not present. You've got your angel investor. Who do they talk to when they finish negotiating? Do they go and talk to they might just talk to their wife. They might talk to their husband. They might talk to someone else who is their court jester. The court jester is like the silly person in the king's court who could say the thing that no one else could say. So you don't know, and that's out of your control. You need to find out who are they going to speak to. And if they're not present, then maybe you need to stop the meeting there and get them in. And if it's impossible for whatever reason you really tried, then you need to coach them. So what are you going to say to your wife when she says, that's really expensive? Does that make sense? What are you going to say?
This directly?
Yes. So what typically happens when I have these conversations with people is that they'll go and speak to somebody. They've got a bit of a court jester, somebody that stops them from making stupid decisions. Is there anyone like that with you? Yeah, it might be your partner, might be a business partner, might be an old colleague. So you try to find out who they're going to speak to before. Because if you don't, then you're vulnerable. Why are you vulnerable? Because because that person who's not present wasn't there in the room. And then, therefore, they could just go away and say, you know what, that's too expensive. I know this other guy. He's $50 cheaper. But they weren't in the room. They don't know you. They didn't build a relationship. They didn't hear the questions you asked. And so they're not a better decision maker. So that's the deal. That could kill your deal if you don't know who's involved. So find out who's involved, get them in. If you can't get them in, coach the person. So what are you going to say if your wife says it's too much? Oh, I'm going to say, well, but it's the right product for me. It's the right service. And what are you going to say if she says, and you coach them through the conversation. So you're much less chance of getting what I call buyer's remorse. Buyer's remorse is I go away and I say, oh, I thought about it last night and I'm sorry, it's not for me. It's too expensive. Right? That's what you don't want the next day, right? It's the worst thing. They go away and they say, it's not for me. It's not for me. Checking. You present back on their pains. You don't do this 2-day thing of going away and doing your elaborate presentation, spending months, or you do this beautiful, amazing PowerPoint presentation. No. You go in and you say, I don't do presentations. Tell me, I'm more interested in finding out what you really need. And if you present on things that you think are important, they're not really important. You're just talking at them, and they're just, oh, salesperson. Okay, I know how to treat a salesperson. I'm going to trick him. Yeah. Buyer's remorse. You want to find out. You want to check. So, are you sure? You want to check at the end. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to work with me. Are you sure it's worth it? You want to check at the end. Because people might go away, and again, they make sure that you're checking who they're speaking to. Go away at the end. Are you sure it's the right deal for you? You want to check hard. If the more money it is, the harder you want to push them. Are you sure? If I go away at the end of today, are you going to call me back tomorrow morning? Is there any chance that you're going to call me back tomorrow morning and say, listen, I've thought about it. I spoke to my wife, and she says no. Is that going to happen? Because you've got that chance. At that moment, you've got that chance to find out if they have any hidden doubts before you leave. Because if you leave and they've got hidden doubts, those doubts are going to grow. Those doubts are going to get bigger because they don't have you in front of them to have any answers anymore. So always check at the end. Are you sure? Because it's a lot of money. Why do you want to work with me again? So you're doing the opposite, again, of what typical salespeople do. You're doing the opposite. Why is this a good deal for you? Are you sure about this? You want to prevent buyer's remorse as much as you can. Again, you can never guarantee it. Not 100% guarantee, but you're in a much better position if you do this when you're speaking to them, when you've got a chance to resolve their doubts, than if you go away and you forget, and later they, oh, I'm sorry, it's too much, it's too expensive. Or it's not a good deal. I said 5 years, but actually I need for 3. So you want to press them hard. Are you sure? Because I know that at the beginning of the conversation you wanted 3 years. Are you sure you can live with 5? So you push them back so that they then push back stronger and you get a stronger deal. And they're much less likely to do the opposite. Yeah, and get referrals. So that's it. Build relationship, set the ground rules, find the problems, understand what their process is, investment, understand who's in the decision-making process, and present to the challenges and avoid return, avoid buyer's remorse. That's a much better system than doing what most salespeople do and doing most negotiations, because you're eliminating that confusion, this uncertainty, and misunderstanding. Does that make sense? Do you see how it makes more sense, even in the B2B market? Yes, just one more. Last thing, developing negotiation mastery. This is the vicious cycle you keep doing. This is the virtuous circle. You prepare and you plan. I've given you several things to do. What kind of things do you need to do and prepare when you prepare? What did we do earlier? First session? Objectives, strategy. Yeah, what are the 3 red lines? What's your red line? What's your best case scenario? What's your target? Do it, then review it afterwards. How did I do? Did I build relationship, or was I being an idiot again? Was I being just focused on the prize and I didn't create enough relationships so they didn't trust me?
Dear friends, America House is closing in 5 minutes. Друзі, американський дім зачиняється за 5 хвилин.
Last thing, get feedback. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. Get feedback. Get a coach. If you think of the top CEOs in your top companies in Ukraine, the best people, they've all got coaches. It's not a coincidence. Success is not a coincidence. Michael Phelps, it's not a coincidence he's success because his coach helps him as well. It's not just ability. So get feedback. That's the virtuous circle. If you want to become a better negotiator, you want to develop negotiation mastery, that's the kind of thing you need to do. Does that make sense? Thank you very much. So very quick. Maybe Alla, is it relevant for the whole group, or could we just do it one-to-one?
I think, yeah, that would be interesting. What is your suggestion to present your product for new people without feeling that you're pushing for it?